Episode 291. He was anxious to finally reunite with April. "Do you really think I care about teaching him?" April said angrily. She finally understood what it meant by never judge a book by its cover. She didn't understand why someone as handsome as he was would spread rumors like that about her. "What are you doing here if you don't care?" Haley pointed to the door behind her. "You should buy a ticket home as soon as possible. There isn't any use, even if you go look for the director. You should have messed around with Ben. He's the biggest A-list star now. Although he's a singer, he has plenty of film and television projects on his plate as well." She laughed sarcastically and walked back into the recording studio. April knew that her words would bear little weight, especially when pitted against Ben's, but she had to try to defend herself. She would hate for the rumors that she tried to seduce Ben to spread all over the industry. It would drastically affect her reputation and her career. She waited for 45 minutes before Ben appeared with his assistant and his bodyguard. "Ben?" April walked over briskly towards him, but his bodyguard blocked her path immediately before she could draw close. When Ben saw her, he looked upset. He wondered what she had to say now. "What's the matter?" "You accuse me falsely of trying to seduce you and asked the company to shift my schedule. What do you think the matter is?" April laughed coldly. "Ask yourself truthfully. Did I or did I not try to seduce you?" Ben frowned. He was taken aback by her confrontation. His assistant, Thomas, looked upset. "What's the matter with Simon? How could he allow her to confront Ben like this? I'm calling your director. This is outrageous." "Thomas?" Ben stopped him and looked at him. "What did you tell the crew?" Thomas said, "I just told them that she was harassing you. I wanted them to rearrange her work time so that you won't have to bump into her while you're here. I didn't expect her to be so thick about it. What a shameless girl." "Did I harass you?" April glared at Ben. "She didn't harass me, all right?" Ben said to Thomas. "Go explain things to the crew. Ask them to switch things back. Explain to them that it was a misunderstanding. We merely had a divergence of opinions while interpreting one of the characters in the game." "I can tell them that, but I don't think that the schedule can be changed further." Thomas shrugged. "Another voice actor is already in the studio. We shouldn't be so fickle and careless." April was agitated. "So, you do know that you shouldn't be so careless. How could you spread those rumors without getting to the bottom of things? It may be a small matter to you, but have you considered the impact on my reputation?" "Miss Eisenberg, can we please talk in private?" Ben asked. "Ben, I don't think that will be necessary. Let's leave her be." Thomas looked indifferent. Ben looked at him with disapproval. He walked towards the window and lowered his voice. "Miss Eisenberg, my assistant may be a little out of it. Although I might not be able to change the schedule now, I will make sure that I explain the entire situation to the crew. I won't tarnish your reputation one bit. I'm willing to compensate you for your return tickets, accommodation fees, and all other monetary losses as well." April pursed her lips in silence. Her face was clean and pretty. "Please don't tell Winnie about this. I don't want her to misunderstand," Ben added. "I don't care what you think of me, but I care about her a lot. I don't want to lose her." April paused to think before saying, "I'm sorry. I've already told Winnie." Ben's beautiful features were suddenly contorted in an ugly manner. "That's not nice of you to come between us like that." April paused for a few seconds and then asked, "When did I sow division between you?" "You talked to her before you even figured out the truth. Didn't you think that she might misunderstand me?" Ben looked at her with discontent, saying, "Winnie's old friends are all fine. I didn't think that she'd become friends with someone like you." April gazed at him for a while, then smiled. "Mr. Davos, in fact, I lied to you. I didn't tell Winnie what happened. I just wanted to know how you would react." Ben was a little stunned, and then he sighed in relief. However, now he was even unhappier. "What's the point of that?" "I wanted to know what kind of person you are." April smiled and said, "It turns out you have no class. Winnie has poor taste." Ben took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "I'm warning you, don't talk nonsense in front of Winnie." Mr. Davis, you've sung a few songs and have become a big star, but don't think that everyone should be afraid of you," said April. "I can ruin your reputation with one word," Ben warned her, then turned and walked to his bodyguard and assistant. April felt that she had no reason to keep talking to a man like that. She didn't want to dub for the game anymore, and she wasn't afraid of breaking the contract. Before she had met Ben in person, she thought he was perfect. But now she really didn't like him. When she walked past Ben, Thomas glared at her with dislike, then turned to say to Ben in Korean, "When you two talked alone in that corner, I thought you fancied her." Ben responded in Korean in a lazy tone. "How could it be possible? That kind of woman can be seen everywhere." "Don't say that, she's pretty. But if young mistress knew, she'd be unhappy," Thomas replied, then laughed. "Don't disappoint young mistress, she's longing for you." Ben smiled and stayed silent. April, who had walked only a few steps away, was now shocked. What young mistress? Did Ben have another girlfriend in Korea? His assistant had said that, and he hadn't denied it. April couldn't be sure if he was with that young mistress, but their relationship was certainly not normal. They might be flirting with each other. His assistant called her young mistress, so that woman definitely had a remarkable family background. What was it between him and Winnie then? Was he with Winnie while flirting with another woman? No wonder he always acted so secretly. April had never been angrier. She felt like she was the one who had been betrayed. Winnie had done so much for him. She came to Rosewood City alone, angering her parents. She strived to enter the entertainment industry because she believed that as long as she became a star, she could be with Ben. What now? Winnie's love in her youth had been wasted on that man. How could such an awful man even exist? April really wanted to go back and beat him up. But for her own career, she didn't let herself do that. Ben had so many fans. If she attacked him, his fans might find her and kill her. She waited for the elevator. The elevator door opened and two men walked out. April didn't pay attention to them. When she brushed past the two men, one of them suddenly turned and saw her lowering her eyes. Her skin was snow white, and that made her look like she was of mixed blood. Her cheeks slightly bulged because she was angry. As the elevator door slowly closed, her face disappeared from his sight. "What's wrong?" his friend asked. "She is..." Jeffrey's eyes narrowed and he spat out the question with a thick foreign accent. His friend looked at the recording studio and said, "She's probably a voice actor." Jeffrey grabbed his arm and said agitatedly, "Do you know her name?" "How would I know that? The company belongs to my dad. Although I participated in the production of this game, I'm not really involved in the post-production work. I can help you ask around, though." His friend was astonished to see him this way. He was usually aloof, and his gaze was always cold and steely, but he was overflowing with emotion and excitement now. He had known Moi Luixi for a while now, and he always maintained a poker face. "Do you know her, or have you fallen in love with her at first sight?" Jeffrey looked at him emotionlessly now. After a while, his lips quivered. "Find her information immediately." His friends looked at him with his mouth agape. He didn't seem like he wanted to answer his question. As son of Simon's CEO, Morris Lewis, it was a piece of cake for him to find the information he needed. After a phone call, within 15 minutes, the CEO secretary walked over to them while they were still touring the technical department. "Boss, I found the girl that you're looking for. She's called April Eisenberg. She's one of the voice actresses that were recently signed." April Eisenberg. Jeffrey was muttering her name softly, and his hard face was suddenly filled with emotion. He never thought that someone he had heard about since he was a child would appear in front of him so casually. At first, he thought the girl resembled his mother, but there were plenty of people in the world who looked like each other. He was just checking to be sure. He didn't expect to be right. After he entered adulthood, Melissa had told him he had an older sister and a disappointing father. He had never planned on reconciling with his dad, but he still yearned to meet his sister. He asked for the Eisenberg family's address from Melissa, but when he got there, Kenneth was already in jail for outrage of modesty. He was ashamed that his father was a criminal, and April was nowhere to be found then. At the same time, Melissa had met with an accident, and he had to rush back. It was years before he was back again after completing school overseas. He didn't expect to bump into his sister the moment he landed in New Jersey. Melissa would be elated if she found out. Jeffrey clenched his fist tightly. He was anxious to finally reunite with April. He had to hold himself back from doing anything impulsive, though. April didn't even know of his existence after all. He drew in a long breath.
Can you tell me more about her situation?
The secretary looked at him in confusion. Although this guy was young, it was rare for his genius young master to respect anyone like this. He must be someone important.
Master Lewis, you might not be familiar with this since you've been abroad. April is infamous here. Her father is a criminal for committing acts of indecency. They've been in the spotlight for a while now.
Jeffrey looked downcast. He detested all mentions of Kenneth. He had already had stony expression, and he instantly sent chills down the secretary's back with his domineering aura.
Go on.
Morris gestured with his chin. The secretary nodded.
Well, speaking of April, her life could be written into a novel. She's very gifted in the voice acting industry. It was a pity when her father landed in jail. She broke up with her fiancé then, Isaac Davidson too. Oh, right. Isaac took over the Eisenberg's family film company and renamed it the Magma Group afterward. Rumor has it that he went around making sure April would never get another gig in the industry again after that.
Episode 292. Slap Ben's Face.
Why did he ban April?
Jeffrey narrowed his eyes, which were glowing with a cold light.
Wasn't she his fiancé? That man was probably aiming at her family business.
The assistant chuckled.
That's what people said. After that, April dropped out of school and went to Rosewood City, since she had no other choice. She's studying in Langford College of Communication now, and she's Aaron Bennett's girlfriend.
Who's Aaron Bennett? Jeffrey interrupted him coldly once again. Based on what Isaac had done, he had no good feelings for his sister's boyfriend at all.
The president of the Splingo Group. He founded Splingo single-handedly. His mother is the president of the YCC Corporation, and his father is from a military family. Anyway, even our chairman doesn't dare to look down on him. I guess he's pretty old then.
Jeffrey felt even more annoyed. It seemed that his sister was living a poor life indeed. Her boyfriend was actually an old man. Her taste was as poor as Melissa's. A girl and her mother could be exactly alike.
Actually, he's even younger than me,
said the assistant shamefacedly.
He's only 30 and is considered the youngest financer in the city. Isn't he old?
Jeffrey responded with a big frown. April hadn't even had her 24th birthday yet.
He's a little old for you, said the assistant, but I think for April he's fine. Women like to be with men who are a couple years older than they are. However, Aaron is very handsome, so it's reasonable for girls to like him.
Handsome men are fickle in love, Jeffrey commented.
You're more handsome than any man. Are you fickle in love too?
Morris said while trying to keep himself from laughing out loud.
Do not compare me with that kind of man.
Jeffrey glanced at him blandly. Morris didn't know how to respond. How did Aaron offend you? Did he steal your wife? He wondered. The assistant smiled and continued.
All in all, Aaron's pretty nice. He unbanned April, allowing her to work as a voice actress again. Earlier, a video of Kenneth threatening his students emerged online, and April was affected again. It even influenced Splingo. They lost over $1 billion. But still, Aaron solved the rumor problem for April and never left her. But I heard that they broke up a couple days ago. Scrum,
said Jeffrey through his clenched teeth. His sister was so silly that she was fooled by indecent men over and over again. However, since he had found her, he wouldn't let anybody bully her again. From now on, he would treat her like a princess. If anyone dared to hurt her, he would kill them. Morris couldn't help but add,
he's not exactly scum. He has lost over $1 billion after all. That's a large number. Is $1 billion a big sum of money?
Jeffrey threw the question back blandly. Morris was speechless. He was arrogant as always. The assistant gave a bitter smile. Nowadays, many young people were arrogant.
Since she's working for your company, I guess she'll come here every day, right?
Jeffrey asked. In that case, he might be able to see her again today or tomorrow.
There's another thing,
the assistant hurriedly replied.
I've asked around just now and I heard that April tried to seduce Ben Davis at work. Ben's assistant told the team director about that, so the director changed her schedule. She won't come back here until the middle of next month.
Who's Ben Davis? Jeffrey couldn't help but radiate coldness from his entire body.
He's a singer that debuted in Korea. He's super popular now,
Morris answered him.
He's quite good looking and young. 23, I think.
Jeffrey lowered his head and searched him up on the phone. The search page showed many photos of Ben and pulled up his information as well.
He took 2 looks and chuckled. Why would anyone try to seduce a guy like him? He doesn't look manly at all. Impossible.
Morris blurted out.
Why are you defending her? Who is she to you exactly?
Someone no one should bother, Jeffrey replied. Is Ben still here in the building? The assistant swallowed nervously and nodded.
He's in the recording studio.
Jeffrey recalled the studio they had walked by. He lowered his face and walked towards the door of the technical department. Morris caught up with him quickly.
Are you going to look for Ben? He's a spokesperson that my father's company signed.
Jeffrey ignored him completely and walked briskly into the elevator and arrived at the door of the recording studio. He kicked the wooden door open swiftly. The director's assistant recognized Morris immediately and greeted him.
Master Morris, what are you doing here?
Jeffrey swept into the room and his gaze landed on Ben, who was wearing a headset. He walked over and Thomas rushed forward to stop him.
Stop right there. Who are you? How dare you barge in here like this?
Jeffrey grabbed his collar and pulled him forward. He glared at him menacingly. The director's assistant said flustered,
This is Ben's assistant.
So,
you're from Korea? No wonder you have a plastic face,
Jeffrey said with disgust and then shoved Thomas aside angrily. Although he was tall and skinny, he had long arms and strong muscles, and his shove pushed Thomas all the way to the wall. He walked into the recording studio. Ben was already in a foul mood as his voice recording wasn't going too well, and he was annoyed that he was being interrupted like that. He slammed his headset onto the table and yelled,
What's the matter with your company? Anyone can barge in here now? Are you going to do something about it? You're Ben Davis, right? I heard that April tried to seduce you.
Jeffrey walked in front of him and glared at him.
Based on your looks, why would such a pretty girl like April be attracted to you at all? Aren't you being a little too conceited? April again? Ben was getting annoyed. I already said that I was going to make things clear. Did she find someone to take out revenge on me? I don't care who the hell you are. Please get out right now, or else I don't know what I'll do to you. Well, I'm going to find out what you're going to do then,
Jeffrey said mockingly. He grinned smugly. Ben looked at the man in front of him. Although he looked menacing, based on his appearance and the way he was dressed, he could tell that he was young, perhaps even younger than he was. Young little brats nowadays don't know respect. Audacious, Ben thought. Ben looked around the man and yelled,
Are you guys going to chase him away? If not, I think we should end our partnership. Don't be angry, Ben.
The director's assistant rushed in. He had a headache trying to figure out how to deal with the intruder. He was a guest of the CEO's son, after all.
Master Morris, what do you think? Come on, Lewis.
Morris chuckled helplessly. Jeffrey didn't look at him, but looked around the studio instead. Then he said coldly,
It's a joke that a singer is doing voice recording. Morris, let your father know you should change him out.
Morris didn't know what to do. It would be easier if the company was his. However, his father owned the company. Also, Ben was a super popular singer. The promotional film and style design had both been done, and his final makeup photo had been punished online. If they replaced him now, his father would not agree. Ben saw him as an impetuous young man. He laughed.
Are you out of your mind? Do you know who I am? Do you know how much time and money Simon spent to get me here? Assistant Mark, I'm not going to do the voice acting today. I'll never come back here unless you give me a formal apology. Please don't.
Frightened, Assistant Mark quickly gave Morris an eye signal. Jeffrey turned to Morris and said,
Replace him. I'll introduce a Hollywood A-list male star to you. Assistant Mark paused in shock. Where was this crazy friend of Mr. Lewis from? He was way too arrogant. However, Morris's eyes glowed. Are you sure? I'm sure. Jeffrey nodded. Okay, we'll replace him. Morris immediately made the decision. Assistant Mark nearly knelt on the ground. Ben heard that as he was leaving, and his veins began throbbing in his temples. Since he had become famous, he had never been humiliated like that. A Hollywood A-list male star. I think you're talking idiotic nonsense. Good. Since you broke the contract first, don't blame us for being unfriendly. After saying that, he walked away angrily with large strides. Thomas picked up his bag, then turned back, pointed at Morris, and said, We won't let you get away with this. After giving the warning, he quickly followed Ben. Assistant Mark buried his head in his arms. He nearly collapsed. Mr. Lewis, you've created a big problem this time. Ben has tens of millions of fans. If he says one word about Simon out there, we'll be overwhelmed by verbal abuse from his fans. Our new game hasn't even been released yet. This will bring us a great negative influence. Besides, Ben is such a superstar. Who can possibly replace him? Didn't my friend just tell you? An A-list male star from Hollywood. Morris pointed at Jeffrey. Relax. I'll give you my word. I'll do what I said. Jeffrey responded coldly. Mark paused briefly. He did not believe Jeffrey, but he was indeed shaken by his determined tone. That's true. But it's inappropriate for us to replace him for no reason, isn't it? We're the ones who did wrong. No matter how we explain it. We asked Ben to accept our offer repeatedly back in the beginning. Morris frowned, as he didn't know what to do. Jeffrey abruptly said, I remember I saw that man named Ben walk into studio at 4 o'clock. Was he late, or was that the right time? Assistant Mark's eyes glowed. He was an hour late every day. So the dubbers that we hired to teach him always got off work at 1 or 2 in the morning. Jeffrey's cold face showed a meaningful smile as he said, Isn't that the perfect reason for you to replace him? As a first-line star, he's late for work, and he turned up his nose to others. Even the most patient company can't stand that. Don't just stand here, go talk to your publicity department, and tell them to release the news with the name of your company. You can also bring some great publicity to yourself by doing that. People will certainly talk about it and choose sides. However, when you've signed the contract with an A-list Hollywood male star, you'll be able to slap Ben in the face. An international star versus an Asian singer, people will know which one is worth more. Yes, I'm doing it right now. Assistant Mark hurriedly nodded and then started arranging everything in haste. Episode 293. Mr. Bennett, you really go out for Miss Eisenberg, don't you? Morris looked back at Jeffrey. Aren't you a cunning friend? Anyway, you haven't even told me who April is. You'll find out eventually. Do take care of her when she's in the recording studio next time. Don't tell her about me yet. Jeffrey smiled. I've decided to study at Langford Academy next semester. Morris was stunned. Don't joke around with me. Langford is trash compared to where you're studying now. It's fine. I've already mastered all the knowledge my school has to offer anyway. Jeffrey was still grinning. He was excited to see his sister's face when she saw him for the first time. After getting back to the hotel, April started angrily packing her luggage. She was so angry. She didn't even want to stay in New Jersey a minute longer, and she took the first train back home. After the train departed, she posted a status update on her social media account. There are too many unfriendly voice actors in this world. Aaron was waiting for his flight at the airport when he saw her status update. He frowned and dialed her number immediately. He was anxious and he blurted out when the line connected. Who bullied you? I thought you said you deleted my phone number and blocked my social media account. Why are you still showing me any concern? We already broke up, April said unceremoniously. In his moment of haste, he had forgotten about their breakup. I asked Kiera for your number when I went back last night, and she taught me how to unblock you online. Seems like it worked, Aaron continued. It's rare for you to post a status update. I'm just curious who bullied you. I might send him a gift. April was annoyed.
Stop talking to me.
I saw your photo. You're taking the train?
Aaron asked. Yep. Aaron was frustrated.
You're not going to get back to Rosewood City until the wee hours. The train ride is over 10 hours long. You're sitting on a hard seat, right? What's the matter with you? Why can't you just buy a high-speed rail or plane ticket?
April was helpless. A last-minute plane ticket would cost me $2,000, and the high-speed rail ticket would cost over $600. I thought about it, and I didn't think it was worth it, and that's why I'm taking the train. I only paid $100 for a hard seat. I'm not in a rush anyway. I don't have to spend the night on the train either. I'll be back around midnight. Aaron was furious. How could his woman end up taking a hard seat train?
If you're taking the train, you should have at least bought a bunk. It would only cost $100 more. I thought you had $3 million. Why do you have to be so stingy with yourself?
No matter what, she had been born with a silver spoon in her mouth up until she was 20 years old. He had spoiled her previously for a period as well. She shouldn't have to endure such hardship anymore. She seemed to be addicted to suffering.
April, this is the reason why your period is so late. You haven't been taking care of yourself at all. You should pay attention to your own health more. Get off the train now and go take the high-speed rail. I'll wire you the money.
It's fine. It's too much trouble. I would need to go to the high-speed rail station, and the timing might not match as well. Don't worry. I'm young, and I'm definitely going to be able to bear your child. April hung up after she said her piece. Before long, Winnie called her. What's going on? What happened? Didn't Ben take special care of you? April sighed. Ben did take special care of her. It's difficult to explain. I'll tell you more about it when I'm back. Don't ask Ben about it. All right? Thankfully, Winnie didn't ask any further questions. April looked at her number and sighed. If it was only about Ben's assistant framing her, switching her schedule with Haley's, and harming her reputation, she might not tell Winnie. However, it was actually that Ben might be with another woman. She felt that she had to let Winnie know. Winnie knew nothing about it. If she had really wasted her years on a man like that, it would be a real shame. To avoid long-term suffering, she had to be decisive. Besides, what Ben did was awful. She struggled for a short while. The more she thought about it, the more strongly she felt that Ben had a problem. So she called Jennifer. I hope I didn't interrupt you, she said.
No, I just finished a scene. I'm resting now.
Jennifer said.
I was going to call you and ask what happened. I saw your Instagram post. I recommended you for that job. Who's troubling you?
That's not important anymore. I want to ask you about something. April lowered her voice and said, You've worked for quite a long time in the entertainment circle. Do you know about Korean artists? Do their agents always watch them so strictly that they can't even call their boyfriends or girlfriends? Like they only call their girlfriends or boyfriends every 3 or 4 days? They can't see their girlfriends or boyfriends in a year or even half a year? Jennifer chuckled and replied with great interest.
How come I smell blockbuster gossip?
Just answer my question. April got anxious.
Last year, I worked with a first-line Korean male star for 3 months, so I know something about them. Their companies do manage them strictly. After work, we can go have some dinner, but they can only return to the hotel with their assistants. They rarely actually eat dinner, though. They usually only have some fruit or salad because they need to maintain the perfect body shape, but that's only if you gain weight easily. However, it's not as bad as you just said. I often see that Korean male stars call his friends in a corner, laughing into his phone. His assistant rarely said a word about that. When there was no work to do, he sometimes spent time with his phone on location too.
The more she heard, the deeper April's heart sank. So, no matter how strict their companies are with them, they still have personal time for relationships.
Of course.
Jennifer said.
Maybe they don't have lots of personal time, but their companies won't watch them even when they're sleeping. Look at those popular boy bands. They are managed the most strictly. They're young and most of their fans are female. Some of their fans may outgrow them when they have girlfriends. But still, some reporters can occasionally snap photos of them being with some girls. That one you talked about just now who can't see his girlfriend in a year, I guess he's just playing with that girl. There's a good chance that he's cheated on her.
April's heart sank even deeper. That sounded exactly like Ben. In fact, she had been feeling a little strange since Whitney first told her about her relationship with Ben. Seriously, that was not how people maintained a relationship. No matter how busy and tired he was, he didn't even have time to text his girlfriend good night and good morning.
Then, do you think some male stars will want to be with rich and powerful women for better careers? Your father used to run a film company, so I guess you've seen a lot of that. Women can do that, and so can men,
said Jennifer.
Don't be fooled by the glitz and glamour of some of the male celebrities. They may be worshipped as idols by the public, but a lot of them have sugar mamas. Some people don't have the luck or the grit, so they will do anything to become famous. There are many men who abandon their original partners after becoming wealthy and important. They have all sorts of affairs with crew members. Jennifer sounded agitated as she said these things.
She continued.
When I first debuted, there were many executives, investors, and directors who wanted to go to bed with me in exchange for popularity and opportunities. I refused all of them and relied on my own hard work to make it to where I am today. I've been around this industry for so many years. I've seen all sorts of things, the good and the bad. There are many dirty things in this industry. Trust me, you can't even imagine the worst of them.
April sighed. Even in the voice acting industry, not to mention the screen acting industry, she had experienced many accounts of sexual harassment because she had a pretty face. Winnie would be devastated if she found out about this. The high school sweetheart that she was in love with was nowhere to be found anymore. Thanks, Jennifer. April put down her phone and stared out the window in a daze. Not knowing how much time had passed, someone suddenly patted her on the shoulder. She was jolted from her daze and a train attendant was staring at her. Are you April? She nodded. The attendant said, A gentleman purchased a bunk ticket for you on this train service. Please follow me. April was stunned. The auntie in the front of her suddenly said, Who is she? You guys are inviting her there yourself? The superiors ordered us to. The attendant gave an awkward smile. Miss Eisenberg, this way, please. Let me help you with your luggage. Okay. April was stunned. She figured that it was Aaron's arrangement. He had expressed his strong disapproval of her travel arrangements earlier over the phone. She really had to give it to this guy. He could find her even when she was on a train. She followed the attendant and entered a booth. It was a 4-bunk carriage, but she was the only passenger there. There were oranges, bananas, and all sorts of fruit laid on the table. Although it wasn't much, it felt like a world of difference to her. There won't be any other passengers joining you on this ride. Please make yourself comfortable. We will deliver lunch, dinner, and supper to you later, the attendant explained before she walked away. At the airport, Aaron received a call from the train company and they informed him that they had made the due arrangements that he had requested. He breathed a sigh of relief and he prepared to board the plane in peace. Kiara couldn't help but laugh at him. Mr. Bennett, you really go all out for Miss Eisenberg, don't you? You asked me to put on an act with you and treated me to a trip to New Jersey and all. You were so worried about her sitting on a hard seat. It's not even that big of a deal. If I remember correctly, you used to take trains like that all the time when you were serving in the military.
How could she compare to me? Aaron grunted. I'm a man. I can take hardships.
Kiara sighed. She was envious of April. It was a blissful thing to be loved by a man like that. She was clear on the fact that she would not interfere with something that didn't belong to her.
Mr. Bennett, I've got it.
Marvin walked over with his phone.
I heard that Miss Eisenberg had some conflict with Ben. He's a very popular singer in Asia right now.
Aaron frowned.
How dare he have any conflict with my woman? Doesn't he know that she's my girlfriend?
Marvin cleared his throat.
The public knows that you two have broken up?
Episode 294. She desperately wanted to lean on his chest. Aaron knitted his brows tightly. He didn't know that people were spreading that kind of rumor.
Did he harass her? Does he think that he can do things to her because I've broken up with her? She's gorgeous, after all,
he said.
Not exactly. Ben claimed that April tried to seduce him.
Hearing that, Aaron burst out in laughter as if he had just heard a joke.
That was the most hilarious joke that I've heard this year. She was in a relationship with me. How could she possibly take a liking to a crappy singer like that?
Marvin really wanted to tell his boss that Ben was pretty handsome, but to prevent Aaron from losing his temper, he nodded and responded,
That's right, I guess there's some other reason. What reason could it be? I can tell for sure that Ben tried to seduce her, but failed. And then with both anger and shame, he smeared her.
Aaron ordered,
Contact Simon right now. My ex-girlfriend was wrong. They must give an explanation or they'll be Aaron's enemy. That Ben harassed my girlfriend. I won't let him get away with it so easily.
Marvin felt a little speechless.
Ex-girlfriend,
he thought. As her ex-boyfriend, you really mind a lot of her business.
Mr. Bennett, I don't think you have actual evidence of Ben harassing Miss Eisenberg, right?
Marvin asked. All this is just your conjecture, he continued in his head.
April's beauty is the strongest proof,
Aaron answered without hesitation. Kira felt speechless. She finally understood what partiality really meant. Marvin smiled bitterly and said,
Mr. Bennett, we're going to be late if we don't board now. I'll make arrangements back in Rosewood City, all right? It's inconvenient for me to call them on a plane. All right.
Aaron heard the airport announcer call his name as well. 2 hours later, the plane landed in Rosewood City. Marvin switched on his phone and the news about Ben immediately popped out. He opened the news, spent a while reading it, and then said to Aaron,
Mr. Bennett, I'm afraid you don't need to talk to Simon anymore. Not long after we got on the plane, Simon announced on Instagram that Ben Davos is no longer the spokesman of their game, and that they'll resign the contract with him unilaterally. The reason is that he was arrogant and late every day during the dubbing work. Because of him, the other dubbers had to work for a longer time.
Aaron raised his eyebrows.
What happened? Did the owner Simon realize I care about April? Is that the reason why they terminated the contract immediately?
Marvin felt a little awkward about how his boss gave himself the credit. Kira joined the conversation. I don't think it's possible, Mr. Bennett. You have no idea how many fans Ben has. He has both female and male fans, and some of his female fans are rather crazy. Also, it's the first time that he has endorsed a game. I guess Simon has put quite a lot of effort into it. They couldn't possibly terminate the contract with Ben without even giving you a phone call. Now, almost everyone in show business wants to work with him. I heard that some even offered $100 million for him to play a part in a film.
Aaron sneered scornfully. They offered $100 million to a singer to play a part in a film. Are they out of their minds? Don't they need any acting skills?
Marvin sighed.
He's popular and handsome, and he's young. He has countless fans. Miss Kiera's right. What Simon did was rather risky. Now they have terminated their deal with Ben, so who's going to be their new spokesperson? Currently, only a few stars can compete with him. Not to mention the fact that Ben has already finished the advertising and the final makeup photo. By replacing him, Simon is going to take a serious loss. I thought that even if you called them yourself, we'd have to come up with some ideas to make them terminate their cooperation with Ben.
Kira looked at the phone and said, Ben has released a statement as well. He's saying that the young master of Simon Group and his friend walked in during one of his recording sessions and made a scene. The company has already found a Hollywood star to replace him, and that's why they decided to break the contract with him. Marvin remarked,
The news has invited a high amount of public attention.
Kira laughed. Doesn't look so simple.
Find out exactly what happened,
Aaron ordered Marvin. Something was not right. How did Simon break ties with Ben before he had even interfered? April saw the news on the train as well. She was stunned. She had been so angry in the morning, and she had almost blurted things online while cursing Ben in her head. She wished that people would see him for what he was. She didn't expect him to be involved in such a conflict moments later. She was shocked that Simon was the first one who had published a defaming statement. They had treasured him like a gem while she was there. What exactly had happened when she was gone? Why did Simon terminate his contract like that? It was miraculous. She wasn't naive enough to believe that they did it for her. Seemed like the public had opinions about both parties now. Ben's fans and keyboard warriors were completely on his side, and some parts of the public were on his side too. The internet was filled with comments.
They have already produced evidence that Ben was always late for his sessions. You could let things slide if he was only late once. But it's preposterous that he go into work late every day. More than an hour, too. He is a newbie at voice acting, and it's reasonable that he would have to take things slowly at the beginning. But he's showing an improper attitude being late and all. How can he implicate his other colleagues like that? How inconsiderate.
Another comment said,
Since the company paid so much for him to be the spokesperson, he should have cooperated with them as best he could. I like some of Ben's new songs, but I guess he's just one of those sell-out artists. I find him repulsive, to be honest. You should be humble and stay grounded. Stop being so arrogant. There are plenty of other popular singers other than him. Look at how hard-working they are.
An actor commented,
I support Ben Davos unconditionally. It's obvious that the company ditched him after finding another star to replace him. Shameless.
April was reading all the threads on her way back. She was extremely curious and made a call to another voice actor, Cal Brown. Cal Brown said,
I'm not sure what happened either. I saw the young master of Simon barge into the studio when I was recording. They made quite a scene, but I didn't leave my booth. I didn't want to invite trouble for myself. I heard they were switching him out after that.
April made sense of things now. She planned to thank the young master of Simon the next time she met him. No matter which side had the favor of public's opinion, there was no doubt that Ben was in trouble now. Marvin heard about what had happened in the evening and reported back to Aaron immediately.
I think this thing has got to do with that mysterious friend of the young master of Simon. I heard he bumped into April coincidentally at the company, and he had a big reaction afterward. When he saw that she was bullied, he decided to take action. I heard he has quite a remarkable background, too. He pulled in a Hollywood A-lister to replace Ben.
He wanted to punch Marvin after hearing about this chain of events.
Are you sure you didn't make this up? Absolutely,
Marvin swore.
This is what I heard from the people inside. I'm telling you everything they told me.
Aaron crossed his arms. His eyebrows were furrowed, and his mouth was turned into a big frown. He had never expected his woman to be targeted by some other man when she left the city to do a dubbing job. That mysterious man seemed to be rather powerful. He had easily found an A-list male Hollywood star to make the best of the situation, and Simon even offended Ben for him. Who on earth was he? It seemed that he was not at the same level as Isaac and Marvin.
Do you know who that person is? I've asked around, but no one from Simon knows. The people who have seen him all described him as very cold, handsome man with sharp eyes.
Marvin received Aaron's poisonous arrow-like glare before he could finish.
Did I ask you to describe him?
Aaron asked coldly.
My bad.
Marvin slapped his own mouth. Aaron said in a deep voice,
Contact Simon, ask them to replace April. We can't let her go back to New Jersey in case she runs into that person. Miss Eisenberg will get angry if she knows, won't she?
Said Marvin.
Besides, didn't you say you wouldn't intervene in her work?
Aaron crossed his arms before his chest and said with a vigilant look in his eyes,
For my lifelong happiness, I have no choice but to do it.
He had to destroy every man who might go after his woman before they made a move. 4 o'clock in the morning, in the train station. The train was behind schedule but had finally arrived at the station. The train was supposed to arrive at Rosewood City Station at 1 o'clock, but it stopped on the way for all sorts of reasons and was a whole 3 hours late. April sighed. Thankfully, Aaron had arranged a sleeping bed for her, or she would have been exhausted. She really underestimated how far behind schedule a train could be. When she dragged her suitcase out of the station, a large group of people surrounded her, holding boards with station names, yelling about the prices. April didn't dare to take that kind of ride. She ignored those people, lowered her head, and walked straight forward. Some people followed her for a couple of meters and then gave up, but a man kept following closely behind her saying,
Pretty girl, where are you going? I'll give you a ride. It's cheap. I'll give you a discount.
I've told you that someone's coming to pick me up. April walked faster. There's no one. I'm telling you, you can't get a taxi in this place. That man wouldn't give up. April ignored him but walked faster. Suddenly, she bumped into the person in front of her. She raised her head in pain. Under the light of the moon and stars, Aaron stood in front of her with a big frown. His body was straight and sturdy like a tree. She gave a start, and then her uneasy heart was suddenly comforted. That close to him, she sensed the familiar scent from his chest. Tiredness suddenly overwhelmed her. She so desperately wanted to lean on his chest. Aaron didn't look at her but coldly stared at the man and said,
Are you going to force her into your car, or are you planning to do something else?
The man was frightened by the strong, tall Aaron. He took a few steps backward, then hurriedly forced his face into a smile, saying,
Brother, is she your girlfriend? I'm sorry, I thought no one was here to pick her up. I just wanted to give her a ride and earn some money. After all, it's pretty unsafe for a girl to be alone so late at night. They'd be safer if there were fewer people like you, said Aaron in a cold voice. Go away, now.
That man took a deep, angry breath. He wanted to fight Aaron, but sensing the vibe from him, he flinched, turned, and left grumpily. April sighed in relief and said in a sincere voice, Thank you. Aaron's face was still tightened into a serious expression.
I don't even know what to say to you. I told you to take the high-speed train or the plane, yet you insisted on saving that tiny sum of money. Do you know what kind of danger a single woman might have to face at the train station so late at night? And you're so gorgeously dressed. Do you know how to keep a low profile?
Episode 295. Aren't you a professional surrogate mother? April lowered her head without saying a word. Her train had been delayed, and bumping into that man had been a bummer, too. She was not in a great mood. Aaron lowered his gaze to look at her. Her lashes were fluttering, and they tugged at his heartstrings. He was a complete fool in love. He wanted to hold her close in his arms and kiss her with passion. She was really asking for a scolding. She didn't know how to take care of herself at all. No sense of safety awareness.
Come along.
Aaron was as proud as a peacock, taking brisk strides forward. April was stunned and dragged her suitcase to catch up. Aren't you going to help me with my luggage? Aaron looked coldly at her.
Aren't you very strong? Do you still need help from me?
April followed behind him with annoyance. Before long, he had stopped in front of a black Volkswagen. The car model looked like a Passat. He had never driven such a cheap car before. This car...
No one must find out about our little arrangement. I had to sneak out with this cheap car by myself.
Aaron took her luggage from her hands and threw it into the back seat. He quickly climbed into the driver's seat afterwards. April looked around them to make sure there was no one watching them before she got into the car. Something was not right. This isn't a Passat, is it?
Who said that it was? This is a luxury class Phaeton.
Aaron continued.
I switched out the nameplate to keep a low profile.
April was speechless. He called a luxury Phaeton a cheap car. Had he considered her feelings at all? Someone who couldn't even afford a car?
After we have a baby, you can have this car.
Aaron grinned. Great.
Now he was gifting her the cheap car. If you don't want it, I can get you a Passat instead.
Aaron chuckled in amusement. April glared at him. Her eyes were bright and clear. It seemed as if she was playing coy with him. Aaron suddenly had the urge to kiss her pink and juicy lips passionately. Without thinking much, he actually did it. He leaned over and April noticed it. Her eyelashes were fluttering now. What are you doing, kissing me? Shouldn't you be kissing Kira instead? Isn't she your moon and your star? Aaron stopped midway as he leaned in. His eyes were dark and his voice hoarse.
I've asked Dr. Henry and he thinks that there might be a chance of conception even during your safe period. I think we should treasure every encounter.
He planted his kiss domineeringly before she could say anything. The two of them kissed with fervor, as if they hadn't kissed each other in ages. He was originally going in for a peck, but now he had completely lost control. He couldn't help but ravish her lips with his own. April's lips were sore from the kiss, but every time she tried to open her mouth to protest, his tongue would find its way into her mouth to silence her. She hadn't been kissed by him like this in so long. April's mind was a blur. She had missed this badly. She quickly forgot about Esma and her reasons as well. It was just the two of them now, and they both wanted it to last as long as possible. All it took was a spark to light this fire. Erin's hands were roving her body now, and April was panting urgently. They knew that a kiss wasn't enough to satisfy them. You want it. Erin touched her aroused secret garden and opened his mouth slightly. His voice had turned dry, and fire burned in his eyes. Seeing what was on the tips of his fingers, April's face reddened immediately. The rosy color on her cheeks was so breathtakingly beautiful, even in the darkness. She opened and closed her mouth shyly, but could not say one word. Erin violently pulled his own collar. He felt that if he kept holding it off like this, he'd be sick again. However, he couldn't do it with her right there, as there were quite a few policemen on duty near the train station.
Let's go to the hotel. I can tell you for sure that we might be able to make a baby tonight.
Erin started the car right away. April opened her mouth. She wanted to say no, but her body longed for him as well. As he drove the car out of the station, the parking timer reminded Erin that he had parked at the station for 4 hours. April was shocked. You waited at the station for 4 hours? She asked. Erin wanted to explain, but this time he realized that he couldn't find any appropriate response. So, in anger, he said,
Of course. I came here at 12 because I don't want anything bad to happen to the woman who's going to bear me a child. The train was supposed to arrive at 1, yet I waited until 4.
April's heart immediately turned soft. She had been hesitant, but now she had made up her mind. Whether Esma would find out or not, she wanted to be with him tonight. Erin took 10 minutes to find a 5-star hotel nearby, booked a suite, and then brought April upstairs. It was late at night. No one else was using the elevator. Erin pressed April against the wall and started kissing her. April was shy, but as no one else was there, she put her arms around his waist. When they walked out of the elevator, Erin had his arm around her. On their way to the room, Erin stopped a few times to kiss her. They could have quickly found the room, but in the end, they took a couple of minutes to find it. When the door opened, April felt a shadow descending on her, and then her entire body was pressed into Erin's chest. She didn't even get a chance to see the room clearly. In the private room, neither of them tried to squelch their desire. They both wanted it so badly. They merged into one before even reaching the bed. April put her arms around Erin's neck and raised her head to welcome his passionate kisses. Erin was more aggressive than ever. April was also more excited than usual. The first time soon ended, but before long, Erin started the second time with her on the bed. This time, it lasted for a long time. The quilt was thrown to the floor and half of the sheet slid off the bed. When it ended, April was exhausted. However, when Erin carried her into the bathroom to take a shower, they did it again in there. When he carried her out, the sky was already turning bright in the east. April laid on his chest, deeply satisfied. It was the first time that she had slept so well since they had broken up. Erin felt the same. These days, he was trying to punish her, but surprisingly, he gained something else. Normally, his woman had never had sex with him so excitedly. Also, they had done it 3 times. That was a new record. His woman seemed to have developed some strength after breaking up with him. Erin held April and fell asleep with satisfaction. He didn't know how long he slept, but when he woke up, he was alone on the bed. He sat up abruptly and looked around the room. April had already left. The clothes that she had thrown on the floor were gone. He only found a few long hairs of hers in the bathroom to prove that what had happened last night wasn't a dream. So she ran after using him? Erin looked at his phone. It was already noon. He quickly dialed April's number.
Is something the matter?
April's voice was calm and collected. Erin was furious. She wasn't like this in the morning. She was hugging him, wrapped around him like a vine. Either that or she was sitting on his lap, moaning his name and kissing him back fervently. Damn! He felt a heat building in his pelvis just thinking about it.
What do you think is the matter?
Aaron said grumpily.
April, are you ignoring me after our affair last night?
April sounded surprised over the phone.
I'm just a surrogate mother. What matters do we have with each other apart from the affair? I'm not your wife, after all.
You... Aaron was speechless. He only managed to sputter after a long while.
You didn't act like you were just a surrogate last night. Aren't you a professional surrogate mother?
April was enraged listening to him, but she said calmly,
Well, my employer has good technique.
Aaron was stunned. He didn't expect her to say that. His ego was suddenly boosted. She had never complimented him in bed before. He was pleased with this sudden appreciation of his manhood. That's right. Seems like she got really thirsty after being deprived for so long. The more you deprive someone, the more they want it. Aaron thought. He had spoiled her in the past. He had always made himself so available and accessible. He fed her too well. She didn't know thirst and hunger anymore.
I have more to come. Do you want to try it?
Aaron grinned. He sounded seductive over the phone. April blushed before saying,
Well, thanks. Why don't you go look for your moon lover instead?
Aaron replied immediately.
Don't you know the moon is only good for admiring from down below? No one ravishes the moon. People enjoy the canola flowers around them.
So she was the canola flower? What the fuck? She didn't know how to carry on the banter, so she said sarcastically,
All right, since you can find canola flowers all around, you can go look for other flowers instead.
She hung up after that. Aaron was stunned as he stared at his phone, lying disconnected. What a petty woman. What was wrong with comparing her to a canola flower? You could make canola oil with them, and he ate it every day. He didn't like any other cooking oils after all. April had just gotten home. She put down her phone and rushed into the shower. They really went hard last night. His seed was leaking out the whole cab ride home. She was abashed. It was still flowing in the shower. Although her chance of pregnancy was low during her safe period, she still hoped for the best. After she was done, she washed all the clothes. Later in the afternoon, Winnie was back home and she looked worried. April, didn't you say you were coming back last night? Why are you only back in the afternoon now? April recalled her passionate night from before and blushed. She quickly started drying her hair to hide her embarrassment. The train was severely delayed. Why do you look so anxious? Are you going to ask about Ben? Yeah. Winnie looked nervous. Simon suddenly released a statement that they were going to terminate their contract with Ben. They have been embroiled in the controversy for the whole day. A lot of netizens are accusing him of poor work ethic and attitude. Of course there are netizens on his side too, but I just think the whole situation is odd. You were swapped out yesterday, and now Ben? Episode 296. Winnie felt especially sorry for April. April looked at Winnie while stroking her hair. Does it have something to do with whatever happened between you two? Asked Winnie. Seeing the concerned and anxious look on Winnie's face, April felt pity for her and also felt a little sad. Seriously, Winnie had been so worried about Ben all this time. If anything happened to Ben, she would be more worried for him than she would ever be for herself. Abruptly, April asked with a complicated look, Winnie, I want to ask you a question. Do you trust me? Winnie paused briefly and had a bad feeling rising from her heart. But still she nodded and said, April, I trust you. We've only known each other for around a year, but we know each other's past better than anyone else. I clearly know what kind of person you are. April sighed and nodded. Then Winnie first spoke out with her guess. Was there a conflict between you and Ben? Was it because he was always late for work and made you work late with him? Winnie, I've met all sorts of unprofessional actors and actresses at work. April interrupted her and continued, Winnie, I hope you can prepare yourself for what I'm about to tell you. Winnie licked her lips, which weren't really dry. She was a pretty calm person, but when it came to Ben, she became nervous even before anything started. April dropped the towel, frowned, and said, Winnie, I don't know how deeply you and Ben loved each other back in high school. You even gave up on your own family for him and came to a strange place to study and work alone. So I guess you must love him so, so deeply. Many couples in a long-distance relationship break up in a year or two, but you two have been maintaining your relationship for nearly 4 years. Haven't you wondered if there's something wrong during the past 4 years? Winnie blinked. She tried to ignore the uneasy feeling in her heart while stuttering. What is wrong? I've asked Jennifer about it. Earlier, she worked with a Korean male star. They were in the crew together every day. She said that the agency was indeed very strict with him, but it wasn't so bad that he could only make a personal call every 4 or even 5 days, and that he always needed to be extra careful. Besides, no matter how busy he was, he always had a couple of hours of sleeping time a day, right? Did his company even hire people to watch him while he was sleeping? Winnie's delicate face started turning pale. April, are you trying to say that he doesn't care about me anymore? If he has fallen in love with someone else, if he doesn't love me anymore, he could have told me about it. I'm not someone who'd expose his scandals after breaking up. Winnie, perhaps he still loves you. After all, you've done so much for him, so he made you a promise. He told you that as long as you become a star, you two can be together openly. He told you that he's still young. But how can you be sure that he will really keep his word when he reaches the top and becomes a real superstar? April sounded a little emotional. She wasn't blaming Winnie for being silly. She had been silly once too. She simply disliked Ben. Winnie opened her mouth, paused briefly, and then asked in a dry voice, April, did something happen when you were in Beijing? Yes, April nodded. Because he stood you up, I went to talk to him. I asked him to treat you well, but he got angry. He said that I'm mad at him because he refused to help me when I was competing against the other dubbers for roles in the game. He thought I was bearing grudges for that. I felt really annoyed. But still, it wasn't a big thing. He doesn't know me after all. However, his assistant told the director that I tried to seduce him. So the director immediately switched my schedule with Haley's and scolded me. Winnie's heart sank. She was devastated and disappointed. She was embarrassed, too. He was her boyfriend. He was the one who questioned her good friend's character. His assistant was the one who hurt her good friend. She would never believe that April would try to seduce Ben. April had Aaron, after all, a good man who loved her to no end. How could... His assistant, did he consider your reputation in the industry at all? Yeah, his assistant was really cocky. He often conversed with Ben in Korean and told him not to bother with low-grade people like us. They thought I didn't understand Korean, of course. April scoffed. They don't know that I know Korean, Japanese, English, and even French. Winnie felt miserable listening to her. She knew that April wasn't someone who would make a mountain out of a molehill. There must have been several unpleasant encounters for her to get so disgusted. April sighed when she saw the upset look in Winnie's eyes. These are small things. I wouldn't have told you if not for other things. I went to look for Ben after that, and he told me that he didn't know about what his assistant did. His assistant acted on his own accord, and he would help me clear things up. I lied to him, saying that I would tell you about what had happened, and he said that I was trying to sow discord between the two of you. He threatened me, saying that he would ruin my career if I said a word. Winnie wanted to dig a hole for herself. She often complimented Ben in front of her. She hadn't expected him to act so repulsively in front of her good friend. She stuttered after a long while. He didn't used to. He wasn't like this. Maybe he got famous and is acting a little overboard. Well, it would have been fine if he was just acting a little arrogant. No one can really preserve the entirety of themselves after receiving such adoration and fame, after all. But it would be scary if he became unrecognizable. April continued. When I left, I overheard his assistant talking to him in Korean again. He thought that Ben fancied me, and Ben told him that there are women like me all over the streets. He sounded very nasty, but that wasn't all. His assistant said that young mistress wouldn't be pleased if she knew about this and cautioned him to treasure young mistress. Ben only chuckled when he heard that, and he didn't deny anything. Young mistress? Winnie's mind was a blank. Her eyes were soulless. She looked like a little girl who had just lost her favorite doll. Yeah, young mistress. April nodded. She hated seeing Winnie hurt like this. Winnie, I understand your pain. I would imagine it's the same kind as when Isaac brought Rosaria to me. I was like you, and I thought that my world had collapsed. I only told you this because I didn't want you to be clueless in love. Think about it. Someone that his assistant calls young mistress? She should come from an important family. She might even be the daughter of someone important in his company. Winnie asked in a daze. You mean to say Ben found himself a rich man's daughter? April frowned. I can't be sure, but a normal man would deny things when someone says something like that. He should have clarified and denied relations with this young mistress, but he didn't say a word about it. He just smiled. That could either mean that he was just playing around with her, or there was really something going on between them. Winnie was taking in short gasps of air. It pained April to see her pale, small face. She knew these things, but she needed April to break them down for her bit by bit before she could confront the reality of things. April? Winnie was stunned for a short while, then she felt as if someone was banging her hard against the floor. April, I don't understand. Ben, why did he become like that? That is not the person I know. He was brave, honest, sunny. He told me that no matter what he turned into or how high he reached, he'd always love me. He said that in the future he'd stand at the peak of his life and announce to the world that I'm his girlfriend. Winnie, it might not be exactly like what I said. Perhaps I misunderstood. Winnie was panicking, so April tried to comfort her. There are some things I just wanted you to know. You have to understand that you shouldn't pin all your hopes on that person, and you shouldn't make him your sole goal. You have already spent your youth for him. So I don't want you to waste all your good years on him. Even if he's only flirting with another woman, to me, it'd be intolerable. If he flirts with other women before getting married, what will he do after he gets married? So don't hold your breath waiting for him. But I have already pinned all my hopes on him. Winnie was now overwhelmed by the confused, helpless feeling. She wanted to cry. My parents didn't want me to be with him and become a singer. But for him, I came here without hesitation. When I left home, I swore to my parents that I'd prove it to them. I said that Ben would marry me, and that I wouldn't come home until that day. I thought about marrying him and what our marriage would be like. Her eyes reddened and filled with tears as she was talking. April held her hands. Her hands were even shaking. In fact, she wanted very much to say to Winnie that from the time Ben went to Korea alone and started his career successfully to the present, when his career was like the sun in broad daylight, he easily stood out from the fierce competition. Was he really capable and lucky? Or had someone powerful been supporting him? Winnie was smart. She could have thought of that, but she wasn't willing to think about the ugly side of that person. Winnie, I can only tell you that you have the right to choose. April sighed. You can turn a blind eye and pretend that nothing happened. After all, he's not breaking up with you. You can also break things off with him. That way you'll no longer live for him. You'll live a life for yourself. There's another way, which is to let things stay where they are. No matter which way you choose, I'll respect you. Such a long relationship can't end so easily after all. In a relationship, everyone had their own reasons to make choices. April wanted Winnie to make the decision by herself, even though she really didn't like Ben. To be honest, she felt that Ben wasn't even a decent person. Winnie stayed silent for quite a while. April was right. Such a long relationship couldn't end so easily. She just didn't know where to start. She felt really sorry for April. Earlier, she had asked Ben to help April, but he refused. Later on, he accused April of bearing a grudge. Now he had even caused a problem with April's work. That had already sowed discord between her and Ben. Ben didn't respect her friend. Unlike him, Aaron introduced her to a music company and helped her with her career because she was April's friend. Even though he did that to get revenge on Mary, he hadn't really needed to go that far. He did it simply because she was April's friend. Episode 297. Break Up. Not to mention, there was a possibility that Ben had a fling with another woman. The more she thought about it, the more heartbroken she felt. Although April hadn't said some things, she knew them deep down in her heart. Ben might not just be flirting with that young mistress. He might have even used her for his own purposes. Yeah, every time he called her, he acted so secretively. Was he really that scared of his company? Maybe someone was with him. She had suspected it before, but she never allowed herself to project her suspicions further. She didn't think her high school sweetheart would do something so nasty. April went into the kitchen to cook, leaving Winnie alone on the sofa. When she emerged from the kitchen with food, Winnie was already gone. She sighed. Winnie was calling Ben by the roadside. The user was unavailable. She walked around for a long time, and she kept dialing his number. He didn't pick up her phone calls. Winnie's heart was stone cold by the end of it. That was her boyfriend, uncontactable when she needed to hear him the most. What was he doing then? Was he with another woman? Winnie didn't know what to do with herself. She thought of ending things between them, but the thought cut deep in her heart, physically hurting her. She felt sick thinking about forgetting things and holding on to the relationship as well. She got a call back from him 3 days later at 11 o'clock at night. When she saw her phone buzz with his caller ID, she was still in a daze. She'd been waiting every minute of her life. She was always checking her phone, even in class, always distracted. Every day she waited, the colder her heart became. She picked up the call and Ben sounded apologetic over the line.
Winnie, I'm sorry. Things have been rough with Fanyu recently, and the company has been scrambling to fix things. I've been swamped. Sorry to return your call so late.
Winnie couldn't help but ask, "It's quite a big issue, but are you really that busy that you can't even return a call? I waited for 3 days before I heard anything from you. You could have sent me a text at least. Don't you have a minute to yourself?"
Winnie, why are you being so demanding today? We've always managed thus far.
Ben was put off. Winnie bit her lip. She was trying to stop herself from crying. "Yeah, we've always managed thus far. I've never thought much about it." Ben was silent for a while before he suddenly asked,
Did April say something to you?
"What could she say?" Winnie asked sarcastically.
I don't know what she said to you, but I don't think she would have said anything good. Winnie, do you trust me or her?
Winnie fell silent and replied, "Ben, April is my good friend. I know for a fact that she was around when I was lonely, not you. She was the one who encouraged me when things got hard."
You don't trust me then.
Ben sounded disappointment and angry.
Did you know that my image has gone to ruins because of her? My image that I worked so hard on to be able to come back. I have all these controversies surrounding me now. People are criticizing me for having a poor work ethic.
Winnie was stunned. "Ben, they had evidence that you were late to your recordings. I waited for you there before. You were more than an hour late."
I was running late because of other events on my schedule. I didn't do it on purpose. Who isn't late nowadays anyway?
Ben defended himself angrily. "Yeah, you can afford to be late every day now that you were popular. How can you push the blame to someone else without reflecting on yourself?" Winnie felt that he sounded unfamiliar. "Ben, when did you become like this?"
I'm always like this.
Hearing her words, Ben was a little angry because she actually chose to side with April.
Besides, I can't do whatever I want sometimes.
I was late because the company didn't arrange the schedule well or because of some unexpected situations. How can that be my fault? No matter why you were late, you don't seem sorry at all. On the contrary, you're blaming others.
Winnie felt a little uncomfortable. Ben, I sometimes attend events and work with stars too. Last year I took part in the New Year's Gala at the TV station. I saw Kester Sanchez there. He's a very well-respected singer who has won the Golden Melody Award a couple of times. He wasn't like you. He even got there an hour early to coordinate better with the TV station and everyone else.
How can you compare me with him?
Ben said without thinking.
He used to be popular, but he's only a has-been star now. He doesn't have much work to do, so starting to work earlier or later makes no difference to him. I'm not like him. The commercial value of every minute that I have is way higher than his.
Winnie couldn't believe it. April's words made her have doubts, and Ben's words allowed her to see him as a whole new person. She didn't realize it before. Was it because the conversations that they had before were too short? It might also be because they never talked about these kinds of things. Her Ben had changed. He became so snobbish. Ben, have you forgotten about your original intention? You said that you only wanted others to hear you sing. Why do you think so much of money now? You already have a lot of money.
Winnie, I can only say that you don't know me well enough, or maybe you don't care about money because your family's rich. Your parents didn't want us to be together because my family wasn't as rich as yours. Isn't that right?
Ben said in a deep voice, emphasizing the last 3 words. So, for money and fame, you hooked up with that so-called young mistress? Winnie asked. Ben stayed silent for a couple of seconds and then responded in a deep and cold voice.
What do you mean?
Ben, April speaks many languages. I'm afraid you don't know that yet. She has passed Korean Test Band 6, so she might speak better Korean than you. About those words that your assistant said and those small tricks you guys played, she knew it all. She just didn't point it out. Winnie chuckled with an extra soft and gentle voice. However, tears were gushing out of her eye sockets and she couldn't stop it. For a moment, Ben's brain was blank. He was pretty shocked to learn that April understood Korean, but soon he calmed down and said,
I didn't think she'd even make up ridiculous lies like that about me. It's because I caused the company to change her schedule. That was my assistant's mistake. I promised her that I'd clarify it for her, but she pulled strings, found an unknown boy, and had me replaced. I was disgraced because of her. I didn't blame her for that, but now she's trying to frame me?
Winnie couldn't even bear listening to him. Enough! Ben, that person you're talking about is my friend. She's a friend who's been helping your girlfriend the whole time. I share an apartment with April. Don't I know what kind of person she is? I never told you that I signed the contract with the music company and got good resources for my career because April found someone to help me. I'm not silly enough to doubt a person who has helped me. What have you ever done for me? It's been so many years. How have you ever helped me? I don't know if there's anything happening between you and another woman or not, but what you just said makes me feel like we're no longer two people from the same world. Based on your current value, I think you might really hook up with another woman. Let's break up. If there's a misunderstanding, we can resolve it. But there's a problem with your moral quality. I think we're no longer good matches for each other. Ben was shaking from anger.
You think my character is flawed? Winnie, have you been brainwashed by her? We've been together for so many years. How can you break up with me over an outsider?
April was never an outsider to me. She's also not the only reason why I'm breaking up with you. Winnie was trying her best to hold back her tears. Ben, as your ex-girlfriend, I sincerely wish you the best on your career. I hope you'll be able to rectify your mistakes and improve to become a better person. You never know what will happen. It'll be best for you if you stay down to earth and do the right things. I can't hold on to this relationship anymore. I gave you the best years of my youth, but I don't want to give you my remaining years in the future. Goodbye. She hung up immediately after. She was the one who hung up first this time. He was always the one who had to go first. She craved hearing more of his voice, his breathing. She didn't need to work hard for anyone anymore. What was she going to do with herself now? Who was she working towards being a singer for? Who did she leave her family for? She had nothing to look towards. Winnie sat on her bed like a fool. The next day, April woke up to see Winnie cooking noodles in the kitchen. She felt warmed by her gesture. "Winnie, you are so great. I get free food when I'm with you. When I stayed with Aaron, I had to cook for that man like a slave." April suddenly noticed her red-rimmed eyes and she was taken aback. What happened? She had never seen Winnie like that before. Winnie lowered her head quickly and scooped the noodles into a bowl. "I broke up with Ben." April was shocked. She felt bad as she looked at Winnie. "I'm sorry, if it's because of what I said." "No, I just realized when I was talking to him that we don't share the same values anymore." Winnie shook her head sadly. Her voice turned hoarse. "He has changed." April nodded. She trusted Winnie's taste. Ben must have been a good person in the past. He was just not the same as before after entering the entertainment industry. "I realize that we have different upbringings, and we wouldn't be happy even if we forced ourselves to stay together. We haven't really fought till now because we never lived together. I'm sure we would have had our fair share of conflict in the future if we married." "That's true," April sighed. "Just like how I almost broke up with Aaron on several occasions." Winnie sighed as well. "I'm too embarrassed to go back to my parents now, and the new semester is starting. I guess I have to see this to the end. I'm going to get a job and earn money, see where life takes me, I guess." "Yeah, that's the attitude. Don't let the opportunities go to waste. You might even be more popular than Ben in the future. He might come crawling back to you. By then, you could just cast him a side glance and brush him off. How dare he try to pursue you when he's not that famous yet?" April burst out into laughter. Winnie burst out laughing as well, forgetting her sorrows momentarily. "I'm pretty excited now that you've painted such a beautiful picture. Wait till you become famous." April patted her shoulders. "Yeah, I'm still far from him." Winnie sighed and decided to pick herself up. "Forget it. Let's eat now. I need the strength to fight and make him regret his decisions." "Yeah. If you still have any grievances or need someone to drink with you, I'm always here. Be warned, I'm not the good kind of drunk." Winnie was stunned. "How bad?" "I don't know. Ever since I drank that one time, Sylvia doesn't want to go out drinking with me again." April shrugged. She wouldn't be asking April to accompany her then. She'd save them both the embarrassment. Episode 298. Because She's Already Pregnant. Winnie put the noodles into the bowls and then gave the large bowl to April. April finished the noodles and even drank the broth. After that, she sighed. "Why am I still not full?" Winnie even burped when hearing that. Half a bowl of noodles had already made her feel stuffed. April had a full bowl of noodles, but still felt like it was not enough. Winnie really admired her for her great appetite. "You can have some of mine. I'm already very full anyway." "Thank you." April pushed her bowl forward. Winnie gave April almost all the noodles in her bowl and then sat there watching April eat happily. She had known April was a good eater since long ago. April was always slim, added with the fact that she had a lot to do every day. She didn't gain weight easily. Winnie was very jealous of her. Unlike April, she could gain weight very easily. Have you realized that your recent appetite is better than usual?" Winnie couldn't help but ask. "No?" April paused slightly. "Before, such a large bowl of noodles that I made would be enough for you," said Winnie. "And lately, I always find you eating snacks at night. Every time we ate in the cafeteria, you had more rice than the last time." April blinked and picked up the bowl to drink the broth. "Are you pregnant?" Winnie asked. April spit out the broth in her mouth, saying, "Don't scare me." "What's to be scared of? Haven't you always wanted to have Mr. Bennett's baby?" Winnie sighed. If April got pregnant, she could finally stop being a spy. Being a spy felt pretty awful. April was a little confused. She did want to get pregnant, but it could be scary when it happened suddenly. "No way," she said. "Why not? You're so passionate. You can do it anywhere. I doubt you have condoms in your pockets at all times," said Winnie mercilessly. April raised the bowl to cover her face and coughed slightly. Yes, they had done it just a couple days ago. She had skipped a period. Did that have something to do with the pregnancy? Realizing that possibility, April started to feel uneasy. She wanted to buy a pregnancy test right away and find out if she was pregnant or not. After breakfast, she passed by a hospital. She wanted to go in and buy a pregnancy test, but she noticed that someone was following her stealthily, so she didn't do it. She really admired Esma now. To confirm if she had really broken up with Aaron or not, Esma even hired people to stalk her. Esma seemed to have way too much free time. Well, she didn't need to work, so April assumed that she had lots of free time. She couldn't ask Winnie to buy a pregnancy test for her, as it could still make Esma suspect her. After a slight hesitation, she called Esma and said, "I want to remind you that I've been broken up with Aaron for nearly a month. Prepare the evidence you mentioned. Don't swallow your words when the time comes." Esma's silvery chuckles could be heard. "April, to be honest, I don't believe you. Aaron went to New Jersey for a business trip a couple of days ago, and you were in New Jersey too. That's kind of a coincidence, isn't it?" "I went to New Jersey for work." April was a little worried, as she didn't know if Esma had hired people to stalk her in New Jersey. "We never saw each other. Didn't you see that he's always with that lawyer called Kiera? He's falling in love with her. Are you satisfied now?" "Yeah. I tore you two apart and gave that lawyer an opportunity," Esma sneered. April worried that she might change her mind. "I can't do anything about that. I don't have the power to control him. Kiera has been fond of him for a long time. I broke up with him, so she grasped the opportunity to get close to him. You can tell your daughter to do the same." Speaking of her daughter, Esma was furious. No matter what she said to try to convince her, she wouldn't have any of it. She had said she didn't want to implicate Aaron, and now she was sleeping in the armed forces dormitories. "Are you going to go back on your word?" April asked nervously. "I wouldn't be sure if I were to find out that you're still talking to him. Or lying to me," Esma said angrily before she hung up. April sighed. She wasn't sure if Esma would give her the evidence now. She had to find another way. Wednesday at the Splingo Corporation. Marvin received a call from Lewis and frowned. He waited a while before reporting back to Aaron.
"Mr. Bennett, Mr. Lewis said they wouldn't let Miss Eisenberg go."
Aaron slammed on the keyboard and raised his voice.
"Don't they know who I am?" "I did tell them."
Marvin was helpless.
"They said that since Miss Eisenberg has a beautiful voice and her technique and skills are top-notch, they wouldn't let such a talent go easily because they wouldn't be able to find an appropriate replacement."
What was wrong with Mr. Lewis? Aaron rubbed his forehead. Marvin continued.
"I think the man who thinks that Miss Eisenberg is extremely beautiful might have helped her out. I heard that he's good friends with Morris Lewis. Speaking of Morris, he's a prodigy when it comes to programming and software. Geniuses are often friends with geniuses. Do you think that the man who has a crush on April is a genius as well?"
Aaron laughed mockingly.
"Geniuses are nothing but theory. They're all fools."
Marvin was used to this. His boss was narrow-minded and petty. He wouldn't be himself if he didn't insult his love rivals. Aaron crossed his arms in frustration. He hadn't expected Morris Lewis to ignore his request. Seemed like April would have to go to New Jersey in the middle of the month after all. April would never agree if he asked her not to go. Just when he was in the middle of his dilemma, Henry called.
"Mr. Bennett, I'm back. You asked me to take a look at Miss Eisenberg's health before? You're back. I'll take you there immediately."
Aaron closed his laptop.
"All right."
Aaron put down his phone and started putting on his jacket.
"Deliver this document to Mr. Richard."
Marvin grimaced.
"Mr. Bennett, Mr. Richard has gone fishing?"
Aaron was stunned.
"With Jennifer."
He had been listening to Richard talk about courting Jennifer all day long.
"No, with his friends, Mr. Max and them, if I'm not wrong."
Aaron frowned.
"He's always fooling around with Max and that bunch of rascals. He's not treating his job seriously. No wonder he can't get any girls. I should have let him stay in the Great Northwest as a bachelor for the rest of his life.
Marvin rubbed his nose.
These documents. Call him and ask him to come back to handle these,
Aaron ordered. Before he left his office, Aaron walked back to snap a picture of the thick stack of documents. Marvin didn't know what he was up to at first until he opened a social media application half an hour later while waiting beneath Dr. Henry's building. Mr. Bennett had posted the picture he had taken earlier with the caption, "A certain vice president left a pile of work for me to do while he was out having fun at the lake. With a nonsense work ethic and no sense of responsibility, I hope he stays single for the rest of his life." Jennifer commented below, "He really might stay single for the rest of his life." Poor Vice President Richard hadn't seen the post yet. He would be sad if he saw it, as his good friend was saying bad things about him in the Instagram moments again. April was sitting in the classroom, waiting for class to begin. She was a little bored, so she picked up her phone and checked the latest Instagram moments. Soon she saw Aaron's post. Under that post, Richard had already left his comment, "Aaron, don't you try to discredit me." "April, the president wants you in his office?" One of April's classmates abruptly patted her back. April gave a start, then felt that Aaron had something to do with it. After about 10 minutes of walking, she knocked on the door of the office and walked in. Aaron was sitting on the couch with Dr. Henry, legs and arms crossed, looking like an elite businessman. As April came in, he raised his eyebrows and said, "President Torres, this student of yours doesn't seem to respect you at all. She made you wait 20 minutes. As he was clearly trying to stir up trouble, April responded impatiently, "The school is huge. Of course it took that long to walk over here." Sensing the tense atmosphere, the president hurriedly tried to make peace. "It does require that span of time. April, Mr. Bennett brought a doctor here to check on you. Miss Eisenberg, please sit down." Dr. Henry smiled and took out the stethoscope. Once he put the stethoscope in his ears, Aaron grasped his hands and stared at him with dagger eyes. "Where are you looking at?" Dr. Henry responded, "Mr. Bennett, didn't you ask me to give Miss Eisenberg a checkup? I'm going to listen to her heartbeat. Her heart is perfectly healthy. I want you to find out why her period is late. Does she have a kidney weakness?" Aaron's handsome face wore a grim look. No other man would ever be allowed to touch his woman's breasts. April felt slightly awkward. President Torres was still there. It was embarrassing to mention her period. And kidney weakness? Wasn't that a man's problem? "It's just osculation. If Miss Eisenberg has a cough problem, any doctor would have to do it." Dr. Henry felt a little helpless, but still he put away the stethoscope and asked April to reach out her hand. Then he put a hand on her wrist to feel her pulse. Thankfully, Aaron wasn't possessive enough to forbid him from touching her hand, or he would have no way to find out what problem April had. April was pretty nervous. Yesterday, she had started to wonder if she was pregnant. What should she do if she was pregnant? She would definitely make Aaron suffer. Dr. Henry spent a while feeling her pulse, knitting his eyebrows together in a deeper and deeper frown. "Switch hands," he said. He spent another while holding April's other wrist. Once he took away his hand, Aaron asked impatiently, "How's it going? Should she take some medicine to induce menstruation?" Dr. Henry smiled. "She might lose the baby if she took that kind of medicine." Aaron froze in shock, as if someone had just poked his acupuncture point. "Baby? What did the doctor just say? April had a baby?" April was stunned as well. She had thought that she might be pregnant, but she wasn't sure. When Dr. Henry confirmed it, she was completely astonished. So, was she going to be a mother at such a young age? She hadn't even finished college yet. She wasn't prepared for that. Even though she had signed the pregnancy contract with Aaron, she didn't think that she could get pregnant so easily. "Henry, make it clear." Aaron excitedly grasped Dr. Henry's arm. "Mr. Bennett, Miss Eisenberg is pregnant. That's why her period's late." Dr. Henry laughed through clenched teeth as he was suffering pain. Be able to. Episode 299. When did you find out about Esma? Aaron was staring with his eyes wide open. He released Dr. Henry and paced around the office multiple times before stopping in front of April. He bent forward and stared hard at her belly. It was so flat. How could there be a baby in there? His baby! He was thrilled as he rubbed his cheek, all smiles, like a silly boy.
I told you there was a chance even during your safe period. I'm quite formidable. I can take down the safe period any time. Look, it's only been a few days and you're already pregnant. Damn, your skills have improved again. Impressive.
April was flabbergasted. How could she have gotten pregnant in a few days? It wouldn't even be realistic in a television series. Dr. Henry was fighting back laughter.
I don't think the sperm and egg would have implanted itself within a few days. Nobody would be able to tell if she was pregnant or not. I think Miss Eisenberg has been pregnant for about a month now, judging from her pulse.
Aaron was stunned and lowered his head while he paused to think. Suddenly, it all made sense, and he pounded his fist into his palm.
I know! It must have been that time in the car. Either that or that time on the dinner table.
Principal Torres spat out a mouthful of tea. Dr. Henry snuck a look at April and nearly gave a thumbs up. The two of them were so liberal and passionate. No wonder Aaron was so smitten. No wonder. April was embarrassed. She stared at Aaron viciously and begged him to shut up. She wanted to crawl into a hole and hide there. Did he have to let the whole world know what they did in the car and on the dining table? Principal Torres was her principal after all. All right, stop talking. She pinched Aaron's arm forcefully. Aaron ignored her and looked at Dr. Henry gleefully.
It must be a girl, right? She'll be so pretty, cute, and intelligent.
Dr. Henry sighed. Every man who learned that they would be a dad suddenly acted like a fool.
Mr. Bennett, that must be it.
Aaron turned to grasp April's hands in his own and look properly around.
April, you're so amazing. You've given me a little princess.
April's expression was dark. Their baby was probably just a small embryo, and he could already tell that it was going to be a little princess. Fat chance.
Mr. Bennett, could you hear me out?
Dr. Henry muttered awkwardly.
This isn't the most accurate form of confirmation. You should take Miss Eisenberg to do an ultrasound at the hospital.
Aaron's face froze, and he turned to glare at him.
What do you mean? After all of this, you're not even sure if I'm going to have a little princess?
Dr. Henry was about to cry. Of course he couldn't be sure if it was a little princess. It could be a little prince. Mr. Bennett was so unreasonable. Finally, April spoke up for her. You'll only know the gender of the baby after 3 months, if I'm not wrong. There's no way Dr. Henry could know. Principal Torres said enthusiastically,
I think you can find out within a month.
April glared at Aaron. What do you mean, anyway? You're not going to love the baby if it's a boy? Don't you want a baby boy to continue your family's name?
That's so dated,
Aaron said unceremoniously.
What age are we living in now? How can a little boy compare to a cute little princess? Boys are like dog piss.
April stroked her own belly. That was it. She wished that it wouldn't be a boy so that he wouldn't be despised by his own father. Seeing the look on his face, April couldn't help but remind him. Don't forget that you were a boy too. Aaron pondered seriously and then responded,
That's right. 2 people with the same gender repel each other. Haven't you heard about that?
April didn't reply. She would remember this. It seemed that Aaron and a lot of women were attracted to each other. Hearing what Aaron said, President Torres even wanted to cry. He really wanted a boy, but his wife gave him a bunch of girls.
Since we need to confirm it, go to the hospital with me now.
Aaron stood up eagerly. April realized what had happened when Aaron dragged her to the door. No, I can't go to the hospital now, she said.
Why?
Aaron figured it out once he asked that question.
Because of Esma?
He asked.
April was stunned.
That was as shocking as the fact that she was pregnant. How do you know? She asked. So many thoughts popped up in her head at that moment. She couldn't figure out how Aaron knew about that. She had only told Kiera and Winnie. Did Kiera tell you about it?
I'm so smart and capable. Do I need her to remind me of that?
Aaron's chiseled face wore an unhappy look. He didn't tell her the truth because first he wanted to punish her, and second he wanted her to have his baby. Now she was punished and was pregnant with his baby. She would never be able to run away from him, so there was no reason for him to keep pretending. However, he didn't want to talk to her about that now as they were in the president's office and Dr. Henry was there too. He dragged her quickly to the stairs, but suddenly he realized that she was pregnant. So he hurriedly stopped and lifted April to his chest. What are you doing? Put me down! April gave a start. They were in the school's office building, so school leaders could be seen everywhere. How could he do that?
I can't. Aaron wore a serious frown. These are stairs.
What's wrong with stairs?
You're pregnant. It's not safe for you to walk up and down stairs. What if you slipped? I'll just carry you down.
After saying that, Aaron carried her quickly downstairs. April put her arms tightly around his neck with fright. Please, this is even more dangerous, she thought. Downstairs, when Aaron put April into his car, Dr. Henry hurriedly caught up with him and said,
Mr. Bennett, wait, I didn't have my car. Give me a ride. Go and take a taxi. I'm going to the hospital. Also, if I get to the hospital and find that April is not pregnant, I'll destroy you, Aaron said and then shut the car door. Dr. Henry was left speechless. How could Aaron just kick him down the ladder like that? He had come here especially for him. But after he did his job, Mr. Bennett threw him away like a piece of rag and even threatened him. However, he did hope that he hadn't misdiagnosed April. In the car, Marvin turned and said to Aaron with surprise, Mr. Bennett, is Miss Eisenberg in a serious condition? Why are you going to the hospital? It's pretty serious indeed. She's pregnant. Aaron chuckled. Marvin opened his mouth wide in shock. A short while later, he hurriedly smiled at Aaron and said, Mr. Bennett, congratulations! You're going to be a father. The look on Aaron's handsome face was beyond excited. Don't be jealous of me. Even though you're a couple years older than me, you'll become a father too. Olive seems to be a good girl. She's a little clumsy, but at least she has a good heart. Mr. Lewis and Olive? April was surprised. She felt great pity. She thought that Marvin would have a chance to be with Winnie, as she had broken up with her boyfriend. But unexpectedly, Marvin was with Olive now. He was a nice guy, actually. Even though he was only an assistant, he had a great network of contacts and he was capable and thoughtful. He would take good care of Winnie. No. Marvin was frustrated. Mr. Bennett, that's not very nice of you. You have been saying terrible things about Olive, and that girl has been avoiding me ever since then. Now that you're in a good mood again, you're saying that we're a compatible match? Aaron said casually, I was in a foul mood then. It was insensitive of you two to appear to be happily in love in front of me. Marvin grimaced. When did I ever do that? She merely bought me a mug. She's saying that you're her cup of tea. Isn't that obnoxious? Aaron grunted. Marvin didn't wish to defend himself further. April smiled. I thought that Assistant Marvin might stand a chance now that Winnie has broken up with her boyfriend. I guess not then. Marvin was stunned. His eyes looked hopeful. Winnie is single now? Yeah, they just broke up a few days ago. Aaron looked at his assistant and said coolly, You're thinking of Olive on one end and Winnie on the other? You're so fickle-minded. That's not true. Marvin felt wronged, and he continued, Winnie is like a rare flower on the cliff. She might be a little out of my reach. She might not even like me that way. Olive is a quiet, cute girl, like a girl next door. She could marry me and we could spend the rest of our lives together. She might be more suitable for me. I don't know. Aaron frowned and quickly reached for April's hands. I only know that you should go after whoever you like. Don't flirt around like that. Mr. Bennett, not everyone can just get the girl like you. Marvin sighed. How could you think that you're not good enough for Winnie as my assistant? I'm quite disappointed that you would think that way, Aaron said. You've been someone I value for so many years. I approve of your capabilities and potential. You earn quite a bit too, don't you? Your yearly salary is over $1 million, and you dabble in investments as well. You don't smoke or drink, you cook well, and you do chores. I would rate you 70 points as a man. I'm 100 points, of course. Marvin was shocked at his sudden outburst of affection. He had never heard his boss compliment him like this before. No wonder people said that men changed when they became dads. He had grown more compassionate. Mr. Bennett, do you think I can court Winnie then? Marvin snuck a look at April, and she didn't look like she was going to oppose the idea. He heaved a sigh of relief. Miss Eisenberg, do you think that Winnie would like someone like me? I don't know. It really depends on the individual when it comes to feelings, April said. I don't think women are always looking for material qualities in men or how they look. We're just looking for guys who will show us care and provide us warmth. Aaron nodded. Anyway, they're looking for men like me. You might not become me, but you can always learn from me. No way I'm learning from you, Marvin thought to himself. After the conversation ended, April turned to ask Aaron, You haven't told me. When did you find out about Esma? Who told you about it? Aaron cast her a side glance and said smugly, I found out long ago. I thought that your acting was terrible and I decided to play along with you. April was stunned. She found his statement sounded familiar. How dare he talk about her acting when he acts in such a dramatic and unrealistic way, she thought to herself. Did you know when I used Ryan to hurt you? April was puzzled. You were putting on an act when you stood below my block? Of course. Aaron nodded expressionlessly. I could tell what you were thinking at one glance. Marvin, who was driving the car, silently rolled his eyes, feeling that Aaron was so shameless that he even said something like that. He had been so miserable during those couple of days.
April was pretty unhappy as well. She couldn't understand how he had suddenly become so good at pretending.
And you,
Aaron snorted.
You said that I might be exaggerating, but you actually should look at yourself. If I wasn't coordinating with you, Esma would have found out long ago.
You! April immediately figured it out. Winnie told you about it, she said angrily through clenched teeth. How could she do that? She promised me she wouldn't tell.
Relax. I pressed her to find out that you didn't trust my acting skills.
Aaron wore an aggrieved expression. He had been bearing a grudge about that.
Fortunately, she told me the truth. Otherwise, I wouldn't have known your real purpose. If I hadn't known, to be honest, I'd have been rather disappointed. You broke up with me only because someone threatened you? Whatever plan you had, you did it because you didn't trust me.
Hearing that, April felt slightly guilty. However, that feeling quickly faded away. He had known about her plan all along, so he was never really hurt. On the other hand, she thought that he was hurt for real, and because of that, she couldn't sleep or eat. She cried secretly as she hid on her balcony and kept looking down at him. But in the end, it turned out that he was only pretending. What about you? You just said that you've paid off the people who have been watching me long ago. Why did you still pretend not to know the truth then? You acted stealthily and signed that pregnancy contract with me. Why did you do that? Did you trick me into having a baby? The more she thought about it, the stranger she felt. I get it. You were with Kiera deliberately to make me feel jealous, weren't you? When I was so jealous and so sad, you showed up with that contract. In order to keep you from leaving me, I'd surely sign the contract. You're so evil. If I hadn't gotten pregnant this time, you'd had never told me the truth.
Yeah, so what?
At that moment, Aaron saw no reason to keep pretending. He proudly raised his chin like a winner and said,
You were planning to have a baby to win me back in the beginning, weren't you? I've only fulfilled your little wish.
Looking at his face, April wanted so badly to punch him. She even wanted to slap him to death with a slipper. What a bastard! He got what he wanted, and he was so smug. And why had Winnie exposed all her little secrets? She should have made friends more carefully. All right, I get it. April took a deep breath. I'll have the baby, but it'll be mine. Mine alone. It'll have nothing to do with you.
How can that be possible? Can you provide the egg and sperm at the same time?
Aaron didn't care what she said. He saw her as a little girl who was venting her spleen. It's in my uterus, so I can choose to have it or not. April gritted her teeth and glared at him. Aaron frowned and suddenly turned very sulky.
Our little princess is so adorable. How could you say something like that? She'd be so sad if she heard you in your belly. Her mother doesn't even want her. That was so hurtful.
April paused briefly after hearing what he said. However, what she felt was more aggrieved. He had entrapped her. She said those angry words because she wasn't happy about that. April was speechless. The guy was acting as if her baby was going to be a girl for sure. A girl would be nice. A baby girl who would be as cute as Sylvia. If she had a boy like Aaron, she'd probably have a heart attack. Who said I didn't want the baby? I don't want you, April said spitefully. Aaron ignored what she said. He knew that she was trying to tie him down with the baby. He knew how much she loved him. She just refused to admit it.
All right, I decided not to be angry with you anymore, so stop holding grudges,
Aaron said. April was miffed that he was acting as if he was the bigger man who was forgiving her wrongdoings. April inhaled sharply and ignored him. But she was curious as to how he found out about the scheme. Aaron smiled cheekily when he saw her trying to ignore him. He started stroking her belly with a satisfied grin on his face. April was annoyed after a while and tried to peel his hands away from her body, but to no avail. Don't touch me! April pinched his hands forcefully, causing a bruise on the back of his hand. Aaron frowned.
I won't tell you about how Esma got a hold of the evidence if you pinch me again.
April was dying from curiosity, so she stopped tormenting him. She has someone backing her? Is she with a rich man?
Peter Williams from Panache Holdings,
Aaron said. April was stunned. I didn't expect Peter Williams to be so formidable. How did he get a hold of the evidence, even before you did? Aaron's expression looked somber.
Peter Williams isn't that formidable. I'm way more influential than he is. Esma knew about this because she came upon a document when she went to visit my dad at his office. She was snooping around and saw the information he had when he ran a background check on you. That was how she managed to grab a hold of the evidence before I could. David felt like something was off and looked into the matter and told me about it. If not, I would have been really heartbroken by your sudden breakup.
It all made sense now. The whole time, Esma was only supported by Peter Williams. She had thought there was someone even more formidable supporting her. She was one step ahead of Aaron, after all. It was just her evil scheme. So, your dad was the real mastermind behind this? April said grumpily. Why was he checking up on me? Was he going to use this information against me?
He had plans to, but decided against it after he divorced my mother.
Aaron decided to tell her the truth after some hesitation.
He didn't hide the document well, but I scolded him about it. Don't worry, he won't do such things again. He has accepted you now.
April was in disbelief. David accepted her. Wasn't he going on about Aaron marrying Jenica earlier on? Esma was the main issue now.
Leave Esma to me.
Aaron chuckled coldly.
How dare she threaten you in our relationship? The nerve of her. Does she really think she's got it all now that she has Peter Williams? She thinks that she can manipulate our feelings and our lives? But she didn't expect me to set up a trap around her. Now I'm just waiting for her to make a fool out of herself.
April looked at him in bewilderment. I just want to get a hold of the evidence. I'm worried that she would ruin it if she was antagonized.
Don't worry. I'll make her hand it over willingly. If she enjoys threatening others, I will let her have a taste of her own medicine.
Aaron sunk his body into the sofa and smiled eerily.
April, I will let you know that you have underestimated your man.
Hearing that, April sighed with relief. Since Aaron was able to deal with the people who had been helping Esma, she didn't need to worry. In fact, I was thinking that maybe I should tell you the truth. Last time when I talked to Esma on the phone, I felt that she might not give me the evidence unless you got together with Jenica.
You should have thought about that long ago.
Aaron snorted.
How could you believe what a sneaky person said? Should I call you innocent or naive?
Hearing his sarcastic talk, April felt frustrated. She responded grumpily. How dare you say that? If it wasn't for your father, would I possibly have fallen into her trap? Aaron crossed his arms and said,
My father can't do anything right. And my woman is innocent and naive. The people around me really make me worry.
April was speechless. She decided not to say anything. In the hospital, Aaron found someone he knew who guided him and April straight to the B ultrasonic room. April laid on the small bed, and the doctor put the probe on her belly. Aaron stood beside her, gazing straight at the computer screen.
Doctor, is my wife pregnant?
The doctor spent quite a while staring at the screen before nodding. The fetus is already in her uterus. As the doctor confirmed it personally, Aaron got excited again.
I saw it,
he said.
The little princess is developing pretty well.
The corners of the doctor's mouth twitched slightly. However, as the president had told her to be extra nice to Aaron, she asked patiently, Mr. Bennett, maybe you're looking at the wrong area?
I'm not. That black sphere, isn't that my daughter?
Aaron pointed at the screen.
That's just a shadow,
the doctor said.
The baby is a tiny embryo now. Most people can't see it unless they're professionally trained. Even when the tiny baby is 30 weeks old, some parents may still not be able to recognize its eyes and nose from the B ultrasonic image. Also, it might not be a girl. We can't tell yet.
Why would the hospital have doctors for B ultrasounds if everyone could read a B ultrasonic image? April laid on the bed and raised her head as much as possible. She wanted to see the image, but couldn't. So at last she gave up and said to the doctor, Doctor, just don't say that to him. He only wants a daughter.
Really?
The doctor laughed. Your husband is pretty nice. Nowadays, many men want boys to carry on their family names. Some fathers ask for an abortion when they find out their wives are pregnant with girls. I've seen lots of that. Those women really suffered. Hearing the word husband, April's cheeks burned slightly. She was too shy to explain that Aaron wasn't her husband. She didn't want people to know that she was pregnant before marriage. After hearing what the doctor said, Aaron wore a cold face and said,
Every little girl is a baby angel. Why abort them? Those fathers should be in prison.
The doctor smiled. Little girls aren't the only angels. Little boys are too.
Boys are devils,
Aaron said without thinking. Hearing that, the doctor glanced at April with a weird expression. She hoped that April was having a girl, as her husband seemed to really not like boys.
Also, doctor, is there anything that my wife should pay extra attention to?
Aaron asked in a low voice. He was now seeing April as his wife for sure.
I think you should consult your gynecologist about that,
said the doctor. They're the specialists for that. Later, you also need to do a blood test. Aaron took April to the gynecologist. After the doctor reviewed the ultrasound, she said in a reassuring voice, Don't worry. Your child is developing fine and your wife is young. It should be a smooth pregnancy.
She eats and drinks well.
Aaron nodded his head and agreed. The doctor smiled. It's good that she can eat.
But she likes to stay up late at night because of her work. Most days she goes to bed around 2 to 3 o'clock in the morning,
Aaron said. Then suddenly,
Doctor, would it affect our baby?
Of course she should try to rest more and avoid staying up late at night, the doctor said.
Did you hear that? I don't think you should go to New Jersey this month for your work. Don't tire yourself out too much.
Aaron said to April.
You have to think about our little princess.
Although April didn't look forward to going back, she felt indignant about his bossy tone of voice. I already dubbed the film for 2 days, and the company would definitely make me compensate them for breaking the contract, too, April said.
So what? I can pay for the compensation fees. I don't care how much it would be,
Aaron said as he pulled a chair to sit next to the doctor. He fished out a notebook and a pen.
What else should I pay attention to, doctor? I'll write them down.
There were 2 intern doctors standing next to them, whispering to each other. Damn! Her husband is so handsome and so doting on her and her baby. What an unfair world. Yeah, so many pregnant mothers come from their doctor's appointments by themselves. I'm so envious of her. She's so pretty, after all. Well, there are pretty girls married to scumbags. Not all handsome rich men are responsible. That's true. Some men don't even care when their wives get pregnant. They still expect their wives to serve them when they're carrying their child. April could hear their conversation and she felt content. They were praising her man and her relationship. She was still a little worried that the only reason why Aaron was so excited was because he was under the impression that she was carrying a baby girl. She wondered if he would show as much concern if she was carrying a baby boy instead. After conversing with Aaron for another 10 minutes or so, the doctor reminded them, Remember to register at the Family Planning Agency, come for regular checkups, and apply for a birth certificate.
Thank you.
Aaron finally stood up and led April toward the door. Before they left the building, April had to do some blood tests on the ground floor. When it was done, Aaron called Emily to get her to make some black-bone chicken soup to replenish April's energy. April was warmed by his effort. Although she was still angry for him for tricking her into signing the pregnancy contract, she hated and loved this man at the same time.
Let's go. We'll get your stuff from your apartment first,
Aaron said to her after he hung up.
You're pregnant now, so you have to live with me. I'll only be reassured if Emily is around to take care of you.
No way! April shook her head. She wasn't going to let him get his way. You can deliver the soup that Emily makes to my apartment. I don't have to stay with you. I'm fine on my own.
How can you not stay with me when you're already pregnant with my child?
Aaron frowned. April chuckled. Who said that you have to stay together after having a child together? I don't think there was such a clause on the pregnancy contract. Aaron's eyes narrowed.
I've already told you the truth. Are you still planning on being the surrogate mother to my child?
Anyway, I'm not going, April said as she walked briskly towards the door. Shocked, Aaron ran after her to catch up. He grabbed her arm and said,
April, what are you doing?
April failed to catch up. She hadn't even agreed to move in with him yet. But how did he suddenly mention getting a marriage license? That was impressive.
Don't you agree?
Aaron stared at her.
We live in a society with rule of law. Do you want our child to be an illegal resident of this country?
After saying that, he touched April's belly, then continued in a deep and gentle voice.
Baby, your mother wants to make you an illegal resident of this country. She's outrageous. How can she treat you that way?
April was a little speechless. The baby was still an embryo, yet he had already learned to tell on her to it. What would happen when the baby was born? Even though the baby was only an embryo, April still explained hurriedly. How can I be in the mood to get a marriage license before I get my father out of prison? Besides, it's such an important thing and my father doesn't know yet. If I got married without telling him, he'd be so angry when he found out. Don't say those bad words to the baby again. I might misunderstand and think that it's not welcome.
But if our father got out of prison and found out that you're pregnant, but I haven't married you, he'd be even angrier. He might even think of me as an irresponsible man.
Aaron immediately disagreed. I'm not in the mood anyway. April lowered her head, looked at the time and said, I'm going back to class. Even if I'm pregnant, I don't want to miss class.
Get in. I'll drive you to school.
Marvin drove the car over and Aaron directly put April into the car. He wasn't sure what exactly April was thinking, but as she hadn't agreed, he understood that he couldn't force her. He had read in a book that women might tend to be more and more short-tempered after they got pregnant, so he had no intention of arguing with her. She wasn't willing to move in with him, and still, he couldn't force her. He decided to use this time to focus on Esma, and to get his father-in-law out of prison before his baby came into this world. In the back seat, April sat on Aaron's lap. She wanted to move off, but he wouldn't let her. He put his ears on her belly to listen carefully. My head is almost bumping into the car's roof. April told him through clenched teeth. Aaron abruptly raised his head and said,
I heard noises.
That's the noise from my empty stomach. April found it both annoying and funny.
My daughter is hungry.
Aaron immediately added,
Marvin, find a bakery and pull over, then go and buy my daughter a piece of cake.
April was really speechless. She was hungry, not the baby. Aaron only cared about his daughter now. Marvin found the nearest bakery and quickly bought a lot of food. April opened one box and started eating the cake in it. No wonder she had been eating quite a lot lately. It turned out that she had a little baby in her belly. She couldn't understand how she was going to be a mother soon. Mother was a strange term in her memory. She never had a mother. How could she be a good mother? She felt a little lost. However, she knew that she didn't resent the baby's coming. Aaron asked Marvin to drive her all the way to the school gate, then got out of the car himself to open the door for her. After that, he stared at her high heels and said,
You're not allowed to wear heels again. I'm going to shop today for some supplies for you. I'll send them to you tonight. Tell me what you want to eat. I'll ask Emily to make it for you.
I got it. April waved a hand. She only wanted to bring Winnie some trouble now. Aaron watched her walk away, then looked at the B ultrasound report in his hands over and over again. He felt like he was in a dream.
Marvin,
he said,
send those photos to Peter Williams' wife right now.
Marvin laughed.
Mr. Bennett, are you going to make a move? April is pregnant now. I have to rescue our dad from there.
Aaron said, wiggling his brows. He would make Esma pay for hurting his woman like that. After April returned to school, she went straight to the music academy to look for Winnie. Classes had not ended yet, so after waiting for a while, the bell rang and students started streaming out from the lecture theaters. Winnie was trailing behind when April caught sight of her. She quickly pulled her aside. What's the matter? Winnie was puzzled by her somber expression. Winnie, you're such a traitor. I trusted you with all my heart. April propped her hands on her waist. You were Aaron's spy all along, aren't you? You told him my secret that I wanted to birth his child? Yeah. Winnie looked guilty. I was forced. You could have at least given me a heads up. You didn't have to tell him everything. April nodded her head, feeling like a fool. I know you were the one who told him about my flight details when we flew to New Jersey, didn't you? Is that why we bumped into each other? You guys put on such a good act, April said, gritting her teeth. You two played me like a fool. I didn't have a choice. Mr. Bennett had figured everything out and came to interrogate me, Winnie grimaced, saying. He threatened my career if I said I wouldn't play along. I didn't tell him even then until he threatened to sow discord between the two of us once he married you. He is evil, that man. April laughed, saying, How could our friendship be so fragile that he could come between us? He also said that he would make me the godmother of your child. Winnie mumbled and saw that April was glaring at her by now. She quickly raised both hands in the act of surrender. I'm out of love. Are you still going to be mad at me? Aren't you worried that I would have suicidal thoughts after losing both my boyfriend and my best friend? April felt something stuck in her throat and she couldn't speak. She opened her mouth in silence and finally said, Fine, you're the boss since you just fell out of love. Yeah, you know how upset I've been recently. I've had so many sleepless nights, Winnie said pleadingly. April knew how difficult things were for her. She saw her lights switched on when she got up in the middle of the night for water. She couldn't bear to scold her further. Winnie quickly added, Mr. Bennett was in quite a sorry state, too. He had stood below our apartment for 2 days in the rain. Poor him. He was pretending. He knew I was threatened by Esma long ago, April said grumpily. Winnie was stunned. No. He only came to look for me after. He didn't know about that before you came for me. He was quite angry at you after I told him the truth, and he thought you were being inconsiderate of his feelings. He felt hurt you didn't trust him enough to let him in on your secret. He didn't feel so bad after he found out you wanted to tie him down with a baby. No, but he told me... April finally understood what was going on. He lied to her again. He boasted about his superior acting. What a load of lies. How did you find out in the end? Winnie was puzzled. It doesn't make sense. Mr. Bennett would never have told you the truth until you were pregnant. He really wants to be a father. Are you... Her eyes widened in shock. April's cheeks reddened slightly. A short while later, she put a hand on her forehead and said with a very muffled voice, I'm pregnant. About 4 weeks. Winnie spent a few seconds gazing at her and then laughed. I knew you might be pregnant. Congratulations to you and Mr. Bennett. You both got what you wanted. It's such a surprise, though. You were trying so hard to get pregnant back then, but you didn't know that you were already pregnant. April sighed. Yeah, I thought you can't get pregnant during the safe period. Now I know there's no guarantee with that. Mr. Bennett is especially good with that kind of thing. Winnie raised her brows and narrowed her eyes. Hearing that, April's entire body even started burning as she thought of something that she shouldn't have been thinking about at the moment. It seems that I'm going to be a godmother, but Winnie suddenly dropped her eyes and continued. You're pregnant, so I guess you're going to move out of the apartment soon. April shook her head slightly and said, No, he tricked me into signing that pregnancy contract, so I won't forgive him easily. Besides, you just broke up with your boyfriend, so I don't trust you being in the apartment without me. April, you're so nice. Winnie was so touched, she gave April a hug. Of course, friends are way more important than a boyfriend, April said jokingly. Winnie shivered and said, Don't say that. Please don't say that in front of Mr. Bennet. I'm afraid that he might destroy me. April thought for a moment and felt that it was very likely to happen. At 4 p.m., April finished her class, then went to the library and spent a while reading. After that, she planned to go to the cafeteria and have dinner there. Winnie needed to work that night and April didn't want to cook alone. On her way to the cafeteria, she suddenly got a phone call from Erin.
Have you finished your classes yet? I bought some food to cook for you.
April gave a start. Her mind automatically recalled the undercooked pork ribs and chicken wings that Erin made her last time.
They even made her stomach twitch.
You don't have to, she hurriedly responded. I can eat in the cafeteria.
The food there is not safe.
The cafeteria in our school is pretty clean, April argued.
The food there can be cleaner than our own food. You don't want to go to the Bennett Villa, so I brought Emily here. Are you going to say no to that too?
Erin said in a cold and deep voice. April sighed. So you brought Emily here. I thought you were going to cook for me.
I was,
Erin replied.
But Emily insisted on coming here and cooking for you after finding out that you're pregnant. Come back now. Don't make me wait too long. If she loses weight, who's going to be responsible for her lost fat?
April didn't know what to say. She could imagine how unpleasant that sounded to Emily. When she arrived at the apartment, Erin and Emily had already been waiting for her for a while by the door. A row of bags were lying around their feet. Seeing April, Emily immediately stepped forward, smiled, and said, Mrs. Bennet, congratulations! I'm so happy for you and young master. April felt very awkward hearing that. Emily, who are you talking to? You! Emily laughed. Ever since you broke up with young master, he's been making us call you Mrs. Bennet. April turned to Erin, feeling very speechless. Erin expressionly pointed at the closed door and said, Open it. April had no choice but to open that door. After that, Erin quickly carried all those bags into the apartment, saying, I've asked my employees who have had children. They said that when you get pregnant, you have to switch many things to those designed for pregnant women only. I bought all of them for you. These are the towels, toothbrush, sleepers, pillow, skincare, shampoo, and body wash for pregnant women. And this is the radiation-proof cloth. Also, I got you this nutritional supplement. It'll give you all sorts of vitamins and DHA, all the nutrition that the baby needs in there. With this, our baby will have snow white skin and shiny black hair. I got you a 10-month supply. April was shocked. Erin looked like he was brainwashed by advertisements. Is this really good? April stuttered as she picked up a box and examined it. Of course. I brought you some walnuts, too. Remember to eat more of those. It helps supplement the brain, Erin said with frustration, seeing how clueless she looked. He was the one who picked a girl so much younger than himself, he thought. She didn't know any better. It seemed like he had to do the work here. I only just got pregnant, so you don't have to buy me so many things. April thought that her body was fine and he was overreacting. Emily chimed in. April, this is only a small part of it. Young master bought dozens of sets of baby clothes. He bought everything from prams to cribs and mother products. He has already filled an entire room with things. April was in shock. Erin raised his chin and he appeared pleased with himself. He was sparkling with excitement. I heard from my employees at work today and I couldn't resist shopping in the afternoon. I felt like you and the baby needed everything in the store when I went there. I didn't think I bought enough, so I'm going shopping again tomorrow. I'm also arranging for the renovation company to remake one of the rooms in the villa into a baby nursery. We will use the most environmentally friendly materials. I don't want our baby inhaling any toxins or poisons. Otherwise, we can buy another villa. I think my place might be a little too small. I also want to build an amusement park in our house for our child. April was sweating from anxiety. She was worried that he would buy out the shops before they even had the baby. He would probably spend millions of dollars, so she quickly said, Stop being such a spendthrift. Forget about it. I think you should hand me your wallet. Erin grinned. Fine. I'll hand it over to you if you move in with me. April fell silent immediately. Forget it. Go ahead and spend your money. It was the money that she earned anyway. She didn't have to feel bad for him. Later, Emily cooked for them in the evening. April sat on the sofa watching television while Erin was peeling and cutting fruit for her. April couldn't even tease him. Emily only finished preparing dinner when April started burping from all the fruit she had. The dinner looked amazing. The dishes were thought out carefully, and it was a nutritious and scrumptious meal. April was feeling full but had an appetite to eat more when she saw the dishes. so she had another bowl of rice. After dinner, April washed the dishes and cleaned up the house. April continued watching television until she realized it had gotten quiet around her. She turned to see Aaron reading a book titled How to Be a Good Dad, and he appeared engrossed. Under the yellow lamp, his features were accentuated by the shadows casted on his face. She was stunned. She remembered what the intern doctors were talking about. As a man who was about to be a father, he was acting extremely well. He was taking the whole matter much more serious than she was. Suddenly, she began to look forward to the arrival of their child. Although she might not be able to work in the later stages of her pregnancy, she could still invest in her career after giving birth. Some women preferred to build their careers before starting a family, but she merely decided to do it the other way around. Aaron snuggled up to her and said,
April, look. The book says here that a couple should sleep together when the mother is pregnant. It helps the baby feel safe and secure. Then our baby can feel both mommy and daddy's love from inside.
April turned her face toward him and she was speechless. She caught sight of his sparkling eyes and he said,
I guess I can't leave tonight.
April glanced at the book and said in an unfriendly tone, I'm sorry, I'm just a surrogate mother. Why are you talking about fatherly love and motherly love?
April, those are some awful words. Our baby has life, even though she's only an embryo now.
Aaron put down the book. He was slow-minded, but still, he could feel that April was still mad at him about the pregnancy contract. He thought for a moment and then reached out his arms in a bossy manner. He made her sit on his knees, then looked her in the eyes and said,
April, are you still angry that I made you sign that contract?
Actually, I did it because I was afraid that I might lose you. Esma threatened you, so you gave up on me immediately. That made me so sad. I was worried that this kind of thing might happen again. That's why I wanted to have a baby with you. That way you'll never leave me again. April was touched a little. In fact, before Aaron made her sign the contract, she had felt guilty too. God knew how terrible she felt in those days seeing him suffer. She was angry because he didn't plan to tell her the truth until he found out that she was pregnant. Why are you sad? Didn't you say you knew it all since the beginning? And that you were only pretending? April said sarcastically. You even faked it when you showered in the rain downstairs in my apartment. I guess the love poem that you read in my school was fake too, wasn't it? Aaron didn't know how to respond. If he had known this, he wouldn't have lied to save his face earlier. If he denied it now, he would lose even more face. Seeing the look on his face, April figured that he regretted it. He deserved it. He shouldn't have lied to her. As he showed no sign of admitting it, April decided to tell the truth herself. Winnie told me that you talked to her after you were soaked in the rain. You weren't pretending, were you? Aaron picked up a glass of water and took a sip awkwardly. His handsome face was stained with a suspicious redness. April teased, Acting skill? If you're really that good at acting, you should have been awarded an Oscar.
But I did pretty good afterward at the airport in New Jersey.
Aaron hurriedly added, Don't even mention what happened at the airport and in New Jersey to me. I still remember how close you and Kira were. You even visited New Jersey together. April was so unhappy that she even wanted to bite him. Looking at her angry face, Aaron laughed. He gently put an arm around her waist and said,
Kira and I were only pretending. You and Ryan did the same to fool me, so I needed to make you jealous as well. Only in that way would you sign that contract sooner, because you didn't want to lose me. In fact, there was nothing between Kira and me. You're the only person in my heart. April, you're the only person that I love.
Hearing that, April had a sweet feeling. What she had worried the most about was that he might never forgive her for what she had done, and that he might leave her. Unexpectedly, it had ended this way. She was a little mad, indeed, because what he did to her was awful. So she wanted him to suffer a bit. However, when he said that he loved her, most of April's heart couldn't help but soften. Aaron continued,
Also, I'm 30 years old. An army friend of mine has 2 children. He often posts photos of his children on Instagram moments, and that made me quite jealous. You gave me an opportunity. I admit that I set a trap. But April, I want to be a father. I want to have a baby with you. I'm going to love you both so much.
April's heart was even melting. A short while later, she responded shyly. What if it's a boy? Don't tell me that it has to be a girl. You can't tell for sure.
If it's a boy, you'll be nice to him, and I'll be nice to you only.
Aaron gave her a kiss on the cheek. April's face reddened a little. Aaron raised her long and elegant hand and said,
I understand you're still studying. You said that you would only marry me and have children after another couple of years. But my April is so pretty and young. No matter how confident I am, I'm still worried that you will be snatched away by someone else. For safety matters, we will have a baby now to bridge our gap. Even if we fight or argue in the future, we will never part again. For our baby, we are a family now. April, you will never be alone again.
April had been hiding from her past. The loneliness she had experienced made her fearful and anxious. His last sentence touched a soft spot in her heart. She was buried in his embrace and she couldn't say anything in response. Yeah, with the baby, he would never leave her in the future. April laid in his chest. She was soft and submissive. Aaron looked down at her pale and bright face. His woman was glowing, even when she was pregnant. It had been a long time since she laid in his chest so obediently like this. The last time in the hotel, although they had a passionate night, the two of them fell asleep quickly since they were both exhausted. He didn't get a good look at her then. Recalling the night they spent together, Aaron stroked her belly and remarked, "April, our baby is so awesome. They always say that couples should avoid getting intimate in the first 3 months of pregnancy. We're so passionate that night, but our baby is still safe and sound." April thought about all the things they did to each other that night. She blushed a bright pink. Aaron saw her pink complexion and felt a wave of heat overwhelm him. Something was choking his Adam's apple. He searched for her lips with his own and captured them quickly. April shivered for a bit when he slid his tongue into her hot and wet mouth. He had his hands around her face and he was kissing her with an intensity, as if he wanted to devour her alive. April's lips were starting to feel sore and she was panting, breathless from the kiss. The sound of running water could be heard from the kitchen. She mustered the bit of rationality left in her and stuttered, "Emily, she's still in the kitchen." "It's okay. Can't you hear the water running? She's still washing the dishes," Aaron said as he kissed her with even more force. April was like a little kitten buried in his chest. She couldn't help but kiss him back with passion. In the kitchen, Emily's chubby face was hot with embarrassment. The apartment was so small, even with the water running, she could hear their conversation. Aaron was getting good at sweet talking, she thought to herself. Her heart was thumping quickly as well. The two of them were probably entangled in a hot mess right now on the sofa. It would be awkward for all of them if she walked out now. She had finished the dishes long ago and she had nothing else to do in the kitchen. Unfortunately, she had left her phone outside. She wiped down the kitchen one more time and emerged from there after 10 minutes. April was still buried in Aaron's chest and her cheeks were rosy pink. Her eyes were watery as well and her lips looked like they were freshly bitten. She looked like she was tormented. Emily was worried. The two youngsters were too energetic and she was worried they wouldn't be able to hold themselves back, harming the baby accidentally. Caitlin didn't know about such things, but she ought to remind them as an elder. "You're done? You can go back first." Aaron had his beauty in his arms now and he didn't want Emily around. Especially in such a small apartment, it was inconvenient for the two of them to do whatever they pleased. "In fact, Emily doesn't need to come here. It's inconvenient for her to travel between here and the villa," April said. "Are you saying that you've decided to move back to the villa?" Aaron's eyes glowed. "April, you see, we've just made peace." "I really can't. I'm pregnant. I'll be exhausted if I need to travel between the school and the villa every day. The villa is 40 to 50 minutes away from my school. Besides, Winnie broke up with her boyfriend recently. I'm a little worried about her." April shook her head and said, "Relax, I can take good care of myself." Aaron thought for a moment and agreed with her. Bennett Villa was indeed too far away from her school. "I'll buy a large apartment nearby, then we can move there. I'll be there with you until you graduate." "Didn't you hear me say that Winnie just broke up with her boyfriend?" April replied helplessly. "We'll talk about it in a while. Also, summer vacation is coming soon. It's not necessary to buy an apartment." "Winnie breaking up with her boyfriend isn't a big deal," said Aaron carelessly. "Is it so bad that she might even kill herself? I believe she's not that fragile. You see, when you broke up with me, I got through it alone, didn't I? I didn't even ask Richard for company." "She's a girl and you're a guy." April stood up. "I'm going out for a walk." Aaron immediately stood up. "I'm going with you." They spent about 10 minutes strolling in the neighborhood. While observing the neighborhood, Aaron said, "The property management in charge of this area isn't doing a good job. The street lights aren't bright enough. Some lights are broken. They haven't even fixed them." April sighed. "Aren't all property management companies like that? They're all about saving money." Aaron thought for a moment with a frown, then called Marvin. "Find a way to replace the property management company of April's neighborhood within 3 days. Arrange a new company for this area. This company is not doing its job here." April was so surprised that she even stuttered. "You don't need to do that." "Of course I do," Aaron responded. "We pay a property management fee every month. Some light bulbs are broken, but they didn't change them in a timely manner. Pregnant women, old people, or children might stumble here at night." "But how are you going to replace that company?" April asked. "And where are you going to find a new company?" "You don't need to worry about that. One of my friends owned a public property management company. I'll talk to him." Aaron answered the questions carelessly, and then his phone rang. This time it was Sylvia calling.
"Brother, where are you?"
Sylvia complained.
"Emily isn't home. I was on duty in your neighborhood, so I came here for dinner."
"I'm not at home. Just make yourself some noodles."
Aaron responded blandly, then ended the call. In Bennett Villa, Sylvia was looking at her phone screen angrily. How awful, she thought. Derek walked over to her and said,
Miss Bennett, let me fix you some food. However, don't blame me if my food doesn't taste good.
Don't bother. I'll just buy some food. Upset, Sylvia got into her police car. Then she started the car and left the villa. Her stomach was growling and she didn't know what to eat. Ever since she broke up with Jeremy, she always felt that her apartment was so empty and quiet and cold when she went back alone. Thankfully, her brother had a breakup as well. Otherwise, she would feel so pained at being the only lovelorn person. At last, she bought a pancake near the police station. Once she entered the station, she saw a few female colleagues of hers gawking at a corner. "What are you looking at?" She looked over as well. There was a row of black benches in the corner of the police station. A young, lean man was sitting upright in the corner. He was watching the television above him, and his side profile accentuated his sharp features. His jawline was perfect. He was wearing a white tracksuit. His glow seemed out of place in a dingy place like the police station. Sylvia was shocked. She swallowed the pancake in her mouth, and her lips hung slightly apart.
Sylvia, you're finally here.
A policewoman, Hannah Forbes, said.
Someone brought him here. Apparently he asked one of our colleagues to bring him here when he saw him on patrol duty. I think he's mute. He doesn't respond to any of us. I thought he might be deaf too. But he said that Brother Zach might be looking for you.
For me? Sylvia had an uneasy feeling about this.
Hannah chuckled. I heard from Brother Zach that when you brought him here last time, you groped his balls. He's probably here to hold you responsible for what happened.
Sylvia was coughing now. Her face and neck were red. Hannah patted her back.
Don't worry. I can understand. He's a really good-looking fella. If I were younger, I might have done the same thing too.
Sylvia wanted to bury herself in a hole. That had been an accident. Brother Zach was such a blabbermouth. Just as she was hesitating about approaching him, Benjamin suddenly turned to look at her. When they made eye contact, he blinked quickly. He stood up and walked briskly over to her with his lanky body. Stopping right in front of her, he suddenly bent down, drawing his face close to hers. When they were inches away, Sylvia was enraptured by long lashes, fluttering like the wings of a butterfly. She was in a daze watching him, and she forgot to back away when his hand landed on the corner of her mouth. His hands were chilly, and when he touched her skin, she shivered and stepped backwards. She glared at him and asked, "What are you doing?" Benjamin blinked innocently and put his hand out in front of her. There was a speck of green onion on his finger. It must have been on her face after she ate that pancake. She breathed a sigh of relief. She was really nervous because of what Hannah had said. "Why are you here?" "Don't tell me you're lost again," Sylvia said unceremoniously. Benjamin nodded his head. Sylvia brought a hand to her forehead. "If you have such a terrible sense of direction, you should bring your phone. Where are the people who take care of you? Can't they find you with a tracking device in your watch?" Benjamin fished out a notepad and wrote quickly. "They don't know I'm out. They will look for me in the day." Sylvia wanted to break down. Why did he have to spend the night here again?
Are you going to count on me to take you in again? I'm not running a shelter, all right? Why don't you go to another police station?
Benjamin blinked quickly and wrote, "Because you are here." What did that mean? Was she familiar with him? He was only making things sound too scandalous between them. They had only met once before. "I don't think we know each other that well. I don't even know your name." What was the matter with this guy? Why did he always have to appear when she was in the worst of moods? Benjamin stared at her for a while before writing again. "You can call me Jimmy."
Oh my God.
I didn't ask your name, all right? Sylvia found him both funny and annoying. "And why ask me to call you Jimmy? It sounds so intimate." Benjamin pressed his thin lips together and fell into silence. "I need to work." Sylvia waved a hand and said, "Don't bother me." After saying that, she turned and walked into her office. Benjamin spent a short while gazing at her back, then he silently followed behind her. Hearing his footsteps, Sylvia turned back and then bumped straight into his chest. Her nose hurt and her eyes immediately filled with tears. Benjamin lowered his head to look at her. Teardrops sparkled in her dark eyes. The tears wet her eyelashes and glistened like the ocean in sunlight. They even dazzled his eyes. "Why are you still following me?" Sylvia felt so annoyed. "I told you not to bother me." A slight trace of grievance flashed in Benjamin's eyes as he wrote, "I didn't bother you. You bumped into me." "Would I have bumped into you if you weren't following me?" asked Sylvia impatiently. Benjamin lowered his head. He looked like someone who had been treated badly. Sylvia rubbed her own forehead. Looking at him, she even suffered a headache. She wanted to be hard-hearted to him, yet still, her heart couldn't help but soften. "You can't come to me every time you're lost, can you?" Benjamin slightly raised his head to give her a glance. Sylvia didn't know what to do. With no better choice, she sat behind her desk and started typing while eating. She could always sense a gaze that was fixed on her. She raised her head and found Benjamin sitting on the couch in her office, staring at her pancake. Noticing that Sylvia was looking at him, he blinked and then stiffly turned his eyes away. "Don't tell me that you didn't even have dinner," Sylvia said. Benjamin hesitated for a few seconds, then nodded. Sylvia pointed at the outside and said, "Turn right at the entrance of the police station. You'll find a pancake stall. I bought this from there. Go." Benjamin stayed motionless. "Don't tell me that you have no money." Sylvia couldn't help but frown. Benjamin shook his head. "All right, I'll lend you the money for the pancake, but you'll have to pay me back 10 times more." Benjamin's eyes glowed slightly as he nodded. Sylvia took out a $10 and handed it to him. Benjamin walked out with the cash. Sylvia watched him leave, then lowered her head to continue typing. After finishing, she raised her head and found that 15 minutes had passed. Benjamin still hadn't come back. How long would it take him to buy a pancake? He wasn't lost again, was he? Her heart missed a beat. She remembered Aaron had said that his assistant seemed to carry a gun, so she guessed that he might be working for the government. As a police officer, she figured that she needed to protect him, more or less. She hurriedly stood up and headed out of the police station. After 2 minutes of walking, she saw Benjamin walking over, holding a large pancake. He carried another pancake in his other hand. He was so pretty that he looked like a walking piece of art instead of a man who was carrying 2 pancakes. As he walked closer, Sylvia clearly saw the pancakes in his hands. There were eggs, ham, potato shreds, and lettuce with those pancakes. The $10 that she gave him couldn't have been enough for even one of these luxurious pancakes. Seeing Sylvia, Benjamin's eyes glowed as he handed her the extra pancake. "Can you buy so much with $10? Sylvia was confused. Benjamin nodded. Sylvia couldn't believe it. "I just bought one with only an egg, but the stall owner charged me 12. It was a middle-aged auntie making the pancakes. Sylvia went forward and asked, "Auntie, why did the price of your pancakes change? You charged me $12 when I bought an egg pancake from you earlier. Why is it so cheap for him? Only $10 for 2 deluxe pancakes?" The auntie glanced at Benjamin behind her and said cheerfully, "How could it be the same? He's so adorable and handsome. I'm even willing to give him pancakes every day for free." Sylvia's face twitched. She said indignantly, "I'm pretty too." The auntie chuckled. "After all, you're a girl and I don't swing that way. I didn't expect you to find such a good-looking boyfriend. I'll give you a discount if you tell me you're his girlfriend the next time." She could only get a discount with his help? Sylvia turned to look at Benjamin. He flashed a bright smile at her. His innocence could melt someone's heart. Sylvia felt a little lost in his eyes. Well, if she was the auntie, she would have done the same too. "He's not my boyfriend," Sylvia clarified. "Oh," the auntie nodded her head. "No discounts for you then." What a vain society. No big deal. Too bad the store owner wasn't a man. Sylvia walked towards the police station angrily. When she sat down at her desk, Benjamin put a pancake on the table in front of her. What a waste to throw away a deluxe pancake. She picked up the pancake and started eating it. It was luxurious with all the extra toppings and ingredients. Hannah knocked on the door and said chirpily, "Sylvia, I'm going on patrol now. You can stay here and watch the station since your boyfriend is here." Sylvia's face was dark. She looked over at Benjamin. He was munching on his pancake silently and didn't seem to have taken a notice of anyone at the door. She was relieved, as she would have been embarrassed if he did. She walked over to Hannah and whispered, "I told you he's not my boyfriend, so don't be ridiculous." Hannah wriggled her brows and said quietly, "Well, you should take responsibility for what you did." She turned to leave and paused to look at Benjamin before exiting the station. She wished that she was younger so that she could hit on him too. Sylvia sighed. She was on shift that night at the station. If there were no arrest, she had nothing much to do. She started playing on her phone and ignored Benjamin. After finishing his food, he stared out the window in a daze. After 20 minutes on her phone, Sylvia looked up and caught him in the same position. She was amazed that he could daydream for such a long time. She stood up and looked over to where he was looking. He was staring at the moon. "What are you looking at?" He was pulled back from his trance and he wrote, "The moon." Sylvia looked at the moon again. It was crescent-shaped that night and it was pretty. She didn't expect him to be such a romantic. Like her, empty and meaningless. Benjamin looked at her curiously and he frowned. He picked up his notepad to write something but stopped himself midway. He put his pen down and suddenly said with a sweet voice, "There can't be living creatures on the moon. There's no water, no air, no atmosphere on the moon. With no atmosphere, the ultraviolet rays on the moon could heat the surface to over 100 degrees on the days and drop to negative 100 degrees at night. There are all sorts of comets and asteroids crashing onto the surface of the moon as well, creating the craters that characterize the appearance." Sylvia was stunned. It was the second time she heard him speak so much. He had a really sweet voice. It was just a little inappropriate for him to reason with her like this after she said something so whimsical. She didn't need to know the facts. Before he could tell her more about the astronauts landing on the moon, she quickly interrupted him saying, "Enough. I'm telling you about the astronauts. Shouldn't you continue the conversation about some other astronauts as well?" Benjamin blinked and wrote, "I don't feel like it." Sylvia was shocked. This man didn't know about anything? All right, enough. I'm not interested in that. Sylvia was about to faint if she had to listen anymore. I already told you these are myths and folk stories. I don't know why you don't know these stories. It would be crazy if I told you them. Benjamin frowned sadly and wrote, "I'm telling you about science." Sylvia sighed. "You don't need to write when you talk about science. You speak quite fluently about it." Benjamin was silent again. Sylvia said, "I think your girlfriend has to be a science maniac too. You two can discuss hypotheses and theories together. A normal woman would be driven mad by you." Benjamin pursed his lips. He looked like he wanted to say something, but he lowered his head again. His hair was dark and thick. It reminded Sylvia of Richard. He looked like a sad puppy, just how Richard looked when Aaron bullied him. She sighed as someone called out to her. "Sylvia, come out for a moment. Someone called the police and it's a couple. The wife is saying that her husband hits her." Sylvia walked out to the lobby. A couple was standing there. The woman's face was disfigured with bruises, and the man was sitting on a chair beside her, his face bright red. Before she drew close, she could smell the alcohol on him. "Police! He hit me! He turned me into this!" The woman burst into tears when she saw Sylvia. The man pounded on the desk angrily when he heard her and said, "So what if I hit you? Don't think I didn't see you. I saw a man sending you home." Sylvia frowned and slammed the table too, scolding the man angrily as she pointed at him. "What are you slamming? This is the police station, not your home. You better watch yourself. No matter the reason behind you hitting someone, you were in the wrong for using violence in the first place." The man was intoxicated and agitated. He started scolding Sylvia too. "You bitch! You think I'm afraid of you because you're the police? I've never been afraid of anyone!" Sylvia was furious. "I think you're really drunk, so you will have to stay here at the police station before you sober up." After saying that, she picked up the handcuffs and put them on that man. As the handcuffs were being put on his wrist, he insanely grabbed a stool from nearby, raised it, and swung it at Sylvia. "How dare you put handcuffs on me? No one ever dared to do that in my life!" Sylvia was rather close to that man, and she didn't see the attack coming. When the man swung the stool at her, she couldn't react at all, could only watch the stool falling toward her head. But suddenly, a white figure shielded her. Thud! The stool landed on Benjamin's back. Sylvia turned and saw a slight frown on his pretty face. However, his back remained perfectly straight. The man raised the stool again. Before the stool fell on Benjamin's back for the second time, Sylvia pushed Benjamin away, prepared to rush up to that man. However, that man suddenly began twitching and soon fell to the ground and fainted. Sylvia was stunned. Her colleagues who had come over to help were stunned as well. "Does he have epilepsy or a myocardial infarction?" Sylvia had no answer. At the moment, she had no spare attention for that man as she hurriedly turned to look at Benjamin. She found that he was holding a pin cap-sized thing. This is... If she was right, Benjamin had touched that man with a small thing just now. Seeing the confused look on her face, Benjamin explained with simple words. "Weapon. He tasered and fainted. He'll wake up in a while." Sylvia was dumbfounded. She had served as a police officer for years, but had never seen such a tiny taser. "Where did you get this?" Sylvia stuttered. "It's so powerful." Benjamin glanced at her, then abruptly handed her the tiny taser. "Why?" Sylvia paused. He lowered his head and wrote, "I'm giving it to you for your protection." Sylvia didn't take it as she felt that it was way too valuable. "You keep it to protect yourself. I know how to fight. I just didn't think that man would be bold enough to attack me in the police station." Benjamin blinked and then continued writing. "It's all right. I have many self-defense weapons." The corner of Sylvia's mouth twitched as she wondered where on earth this weird guy was from. "Boy, what happened to my husband? He's not dead, is he?" That man's wife was frightened at that point. She only wanted the police to keep her husband locked up for a while, but she didn't want him to die. One of Sylvia's colleagues asked with concern, "Sylvia, should we take him to the hospital?" "Just bring him back inside and lock him up. He's fine, only fainted. He'll wake up soon." Sylvia waved a hand. "He attacked a police officer, so he'll be locked up in here for at least 10 days. Great, please lock him up." That man's wife sighed with relief and then quickly left. After dealing with the case, Sylvia recalled that Benjamin had suffered a hit just now. She hurriedly said to him, "Let me see your back." Before she touched him, he took 2 steps backward, looking at her with a slightly shy expression. Sylvia had no choice but to ask her new male colleague, Malfoy, to come over to help. Benjamin glanced at Malfoy, then frowned and wrote a note too. Benjamin glanced at Malfoy, then frowned and wrote a note to Sylvia. "I don't want to show my back to him. I only want to show it to you." Sylvia's cheeks burned for an unknown reason. "Sylvia, I think you need to do it yourself," said Malfoy in a meaningful tone. Sylvia bit her lip, turned to Benjamin and said, "I'm a girl. Malfoy's a guy." Benjamin shook his head and wrote, "I'll only show my back to you." After writing that note, he even looked at Malfoy with vigilance.
Sylvia, should I disappear?
Malfoy walked away while teetering. Sylvia felt so awkward, especially when Benjamin unzipped his top in front of her. At that time, his ear tips even reddened, as if she were doing something inappropriate to him. He removed his jacket, revealing a white t-shirt underneath. Before he could lift the hem of his shirt to remove it, Sylvia stopped him. "You don't need to take off your shirt." Benjamin nodded and lifted the shirt to reveal his back. His back was skinny and fair, like it belonged to someone who stayed indoors most of the time. It was weirdly pale, but now it was adorned with red patches tainting the blank canvas. She touched the red marks with her fingers, and he flinched. Painful? Sylvia felt bad. If the chair had landed on her, it could have seriously injured her. She was a girl, after all. Benjamin turned to look at her, his eyes reflecting hurt and protest. After a while, he wrote, "Ticklish." Sylvia was stunned. Why would it be ticklish? Was he easily tickled? He wrote again, "Tingling." She was silent. He flipped his notepad to write, "Electric current, connected, physics reaction." She said nothing. She was blushing now. What on earth? What physics reaction was he talking about? This was more like a biological reaction. In conclusion, he felt a surge of electricity course through his body. Wasn't that like a scene from a romance novel? She coughed lightly. "You're injured. Let me apply some ointment for you. I have some in the office." They often had minor cuts and scrapes at the station, so they were well equipped. Sylvia retrieved the ointment and gestured towards Malfoy. "Come, apply this for him." Instead of walking over, Malfoy shouted from a distance.
He doesn't even want me to look at him. Would he allow me to apply it for him?
Everyone else in the rest area burst into laughter. Benjamin raised a post-it note to her face. "I'll only let you touch me." She didn't reply. Touch? Who cared about touching him? She had no choice but to oblige, since he'd gotten injured because of her. She brought him into her office and squeezed a dollop of ointment onto her palms. She proceeded to rub it on his wounds forcefully. Benjamin lowered his head and didn't make a sound. As she continued to apply the ointment, her eyes couldn't help but rove over the rest of his body. His spine was delicate and elegant, unlike most men at the police station. Whenever her colleagues changed in front of her, she could see their fat bellies and their thick necks. It was not a good look. She had seen Roger's torso before, too. He was muscular and sturdy, and his copper skin and scars made him look like a real man. She used to think that made him look even stronger and manlier than he was. But it was the first time that she'd appreciated an elegant body like this, especially his waist. He was skinny, lean, without a single fold of fat. She lowered her eyes to roam further down. Although he was covered with his black tracksuit, she could still make out his perky buttocks. She hadn't expected him to be so curvy. Sylvia recalled the time she touched him there. Damn, it was soft. Just as she was thinking about what had happened then, Benjamin suddenly turned and her hands landed on his chest unknowingly. His chest was oddly muscular, and she felt the contours beneath her palms. Sylvia's mouth hung open. She had never touched a man's chest before. She'd never even touched Roger's chest when they were still together. She was too shy to do that. Benjamin was stunned as well. He looked at her hands on his chest. Her hands were a little rough, with bits of calluses, probably because she used guns. With her hands on his chest, he felt the surge of electricity course through his body again. There was that same bubbling heat in the pit of his stomach as when she touched him the last time. He suddenly felt that his throat was a little dry and itchy. Sylvia realized what happened, then felt the blood rush to her face. "I was applying medicine to your back. Why did you turn around?" she yelled grumpily. Benjamin paused briefly. He forgot why he had turned around just now, so he turned back. As Sylvia started spreading that medicine on his back again, Benjamin vaguely remembered that he had turned around to tell Sylvia that she pressed his wounds too heavily and made it hurt too much. But now he couldn't feel the pain anymore. All he could feel was the numbness and itchiness on his chest. He felt a little empty when she took her hand away from his chest. If only she could let her hand stay there. Thinking about that, he turned around again. Learning from the last time, Sylvia immediately pulled her hands back. She was a little angry. "Why don't you just stand there? Why are you moving around?" Benjamin glanced at her hand and turned back around disappointedly, like a puppy that didn't get the bone that it wanted. It was finally done. While Benjamin was putting his clothes back on, Sylvia put away the medicine and clicked her tongue silently. His chest felt pretty nice, she thought. For the next few hours, Sylvia was on duty. Nothing strange happened during that time. At 11 p.m., her shift was done. Sylvia prepared to leave, but found that Benjamin had fallen asleep in her chair. Even though he was asleep, his back was still straight, only his head was a little tilted. She walked to him. A part of her wanted to sneak away. However, thinking that he had been injured because of her earlier, she sighed, then walked over and woke him up. She still didn't have the heart to leave him there alone. He opened his sleepy eyes. Seeing his brush-like curling eyelashes, Sylvia had a bright light flash across her eyes. That guy looked so tasty when he just woke up. She calmed herself down, then said, "Can you stay here for tonight? There's a bed." Benjamin shook his head, then quickly stood up and followed closely behind Sylvia. He was probably aware that she was about to get off work. Sylvia even wanted to die. It was so late today. She really didn't want to drive all the way to the Bennett villa. The villa was too far away from the police station. However, it was a little inappropriate for her to bring him home, as he was a guy and she was a girl. "You're just a lost man. Aren't you demanding too much? Also, why do you only speak when talking about science? Can't you talk a little at other times too?" Sylvia felt so tired. "What woman can possibly stand you? Is your mouth for eating only?" Benjamin frowned, thought for a moment, then lowered his head and wrote, "Mouth is for eating." Sylvia was so angry. She took away his pen and notebook, saying, "Let's see how you're going to write another word." Benjamin stayed silent. Then Sylvia tore the notebook into pieces and walked out of the police station with her head held high. Benjamin quietly followed her. She got into the car and he did the same. Sylvia had no other choice but to bring him back to her apartment. Her apartment had 3 bedrooms and was a great mess. 7 or 8 pairs of shoes were thrown in a disordered pile near the door. The living room was filled with all kinds of snack packages and fruit peels. The floor hadn't been cleaned in many days. Benjamin walked to the door, then knitted his delicate eyebrows together slightly. Sylvia was exhausted. She pointed at one bedroom and said, "You'll sleep in that room tonight. The quilts are in the closet. Take whichever you like. I'm going to take a shower and then sleep. Don't disturb me." After saying that, she walked into her own bedroom and closed the door. She took a quick shower, then threw herself onto the bed and fell asleep. The next day, she was woken up by the doorbell at about 8 in the morning. "Who is it?" She walked over to the door unhappily. David was on her doorstep. "What are you doing here, Dad?" Sylvia was stunned, since she had just woken up.
I was around for some errands, so I decided to drop by and visit you.
David stepped into the house, shocked to see the floor spick and span. Every time he had dropped by previously, her house had been a mess. It was always cluttered and there would be no space for him to even take off his shoes. It was starkly different today. So much so that he thought he was in the wrong house. Even the tables were tidy and neat, and bags of trash were lined up neatly against the wall. He had tried countless times to get his daughter to clean up her place, but it was to no avail. He didn't blame her. He could understand her routine given that she was a police officer.
I'm impressed. You know how to tidy up your house now.
David nodded his head meaningfully.
It's very nice and clean. Better than the professional cleaners at my workplace.
His son drove him up the wall, so thank goodness he had a sweet, darling daughter. Sylvia thought it was ridiculous. Her place was clean? Was he getting old? Perhaps he couldn't see as well as before. She hadn't cleaned her place in nearly half a month. She quickly noticed the bags of trash neatly lined against the wall and the polished floors. Was this really her house? When had her house ever been this clean? She was a little confused. David opened the shoe cabinet and said with relief,
Not bad at all. Seems like you've tried to improve yourself after breaking up with Jishuan.
Even the shoes were placed neatly in rows on their shelves.
If you keep this up, you won't have to worry about being left single.
David retrieved a pair of slippers. Sylvia watched him in confusion before she finally remembered the man she had brought home the night before. Had he done all this the night before? Impossible! Was he that good at cleaning up? Wait, he was still sleeping in the bedroom. David could never find out about this. If he did... At this juncture, the guest bedroom door flew open and Benjamin walked out. His hair was black and messy and he wasn't wearing a shirt. His eyes were squinted and he looked like he was still dreaming. David was speechless. Was he just old and confused? Who was this topless man in his daughter's home? Sylvia was shocked. Did he really have to appear right then? She was surely going to be scolded by David. Dad?
Sylvia!
David shouted angrily.
Who is he?
Benjamin was finally woken up by the angry shout and his eyes fluttered wide open. He froze halfway to the bathroom and stared at David with innocent eyes. David was a little stunned when he took a good look at him, but he continued shouting angrily as he walked towards Benjamin.
Who the hell are you?
Sylvia was worried that her dad would become violent, so she quickly stopped him. Dad, don't be mistaken. I'm not in that kind of relationship with him. David's face was red with anger.
How dare you lie to me that you don't have anything to do with this man? Why would he be walking around in your place like this, then? Do you think I'm blind or just stupid?
Benjamin looked at the two of them innocently. He looked like a precious porcelain doll as he stood completely still.